Hello and welcome back to the Goat Cave podcast. Next week, I'll be sitting down with Drew Bazanton for episode 90. Join us as we go back in time and look through his pro career and just everything that he's been able to do over the years. I'm really excited for this. Drew has been somebody that has been on my list of names for a must-have guest since the very beginning of the show. So to finally be able to do this is a pretty big opportunity for me. I want to give a huge shout out to Robbo over at Cult for sending me one of the ProTech full cut helmets. They're really rad. I'm really loving it. Thank you so much, Robbo. I definitely recommend picking up one of those if you can get your hands on one. And if you guys haven't seen it before, I did a podcast with Robbie for episode 50 of the Goat Cave. We talked a lot about cult, fit, and, as well as standard and a couple other things. Basically just his whole pro career. So definitely check that one out if you haven't. It's a little far back these days, but it was by far one of my biggest episodes ever. Thanks to everybody who met up with me for Skate Park Roulette 4. It was a lot of fun meeting you guys and being able to kind of get out and check out some new parks. And we will be doing Skate Park Roulette 5 pretty soon, I hope. And I'll try and give you guys some more info on that one before it happens. If you're listening to this the day it comes out, I will be a guest on Brant Moore's live stream tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. However, if it's after that, I believe you can still check it out on his YouTube channel. But if you are able to catch it live, make sure to hop in the live chat and ask us some questions about BMX. I'd love to see you guys there. Now, to get into the interview. Today's guest is one of the most knowledgeable and creative dudes in BMX. His riding is so unique and technical, while also being one of the few dudes doing back rail tricks in 2021. However, things don't stop just with his riding. I'd say he is more well known for his daily BMX videos on YouTube, where you can catch him breaking down the newest parts in BMX, his weekly BMX news videos, interviews, and even awesome riding videos. Brant Moore, it's awesome to finally be speaking with you. How are you, man?
I'm great after hearing that intro.
I love it.
Thank you for inviting me on here.
Absolutely, man. And, just to give a little context here, I messaged you about a week and a half ago about doing the show, and you've been somebody that's on my list for quite a while. And I was really stoked to hear that you've actually heard of the show and that you actually kind of wanted to be a guest for quite a while. So, tell us about how that kind of started out, if you don't mind.
I think the first time I saw anything was probably Montana Ricky, just being that we're good friends. But then I saw some of the other people you had been bringing on there, and just one of those things when you see these kinds of things pop up, it's like secretly in the back of your mind, like, man, I kind of want to be on there. I hope he asks me, but I'm never going to be the one to be like, hey, can I be on your show?
Dude, I love it. It's awesome to have you on here. Honestly, Ricky was by far the first biggest guest that I had, and things escalated quickly, right? Like we had Ricky, and then I think Dustin, not Justin, was next, and then the Fids, and then 10 episodes after Ricky, and I've got Mike Escamilla, and I'm like, that's like wild,
Yeah, it's bonkers.
Absolutely, man. And, for yourself, you do a lot of interviews as well. So I'm sure you've talked to some incredible people. I know that I had seen, there's lots of them on there with Ricky. And then recently, oh my God, it's slipping my mind. But you sat down with somebody that I was really hyped about.
Last week I did one with Biz.
Yeah, that's who it was. Biz Jordan. He's dude, he is a legend. I love him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's too sick, man.
Yeah, and the cool thing about him was that, in talking to him about riding and stuff, he doesn't give off the vibe that he's just like a pro rider because he can be a pro rider. He's a pro rider because that's BMX is part of who he is. So it was just really cool to talk to somebody else who's kind of just as obsessed with BMX as I am.
Yeah, absolutely, man. The guy is just so unreal on a bike, and again too, he's so obsessed with riding and whatnot, and he's been a staple in BMX for a long time.
For real.
Definitely. So when you watch that Montana Ricky episode, you might have seen that with the way we start the show is we go all the way back to when he first started riding. We're still doing it, the same way 80 episodes later. So how'd you get started, Brant?
Well, my neighbor, who's 4 years older than me growing up, he kind of started getting into BMX. I think it was around 15 or 16. I would have been 11 and 12. And he like really started to get heavy into it at 16. And then of course, like being my neighbor and that we see each other every single day, it was like, if he's doing something, I'm kind of doing something. Like we grew up hunting and fishing together and all this stuff. So it's like he's getting into BMX. Obviously, he's gonna want to try and get me into it too. So that kind of happened. We took like a really junky old Walmart bike that I had and like combined it with a 10 speed, or no, it was a junky Walmart bike he had and combined it with a 10 speed mountain bike thing that I had to make it a single speed. And that was just like what we rode around in circles before I ended up with like a Pacific, like some other Walmart bike that we were literally just riding in circles in the driveway. And the first time we went to the skate park, I took that with me. And then we took a ride from the skate park to the bike shop that was like right up the street. And just so happened that the guy who owned that bike shop is like the boyfriend of my older sister's best friend. And my dad had done some car work for him. So he owed him a little bit of money still. So the dude's like, go ahead and call your dad and tell him to come in here. Tell him I want to talk to him while I'm looking at complete bikes. And by the time it was all said and done, I was riding back to the skate park on a brand new bike after riding away from it on, just a bike that we bought at a swap meet for $75 because we thought it looked cool. From there, I started dropping in, and I think I even went over the spine that night, first time ever, but it was literally like, I can't pinpoint exactly when the like complete life obsession with BMX started, but I think that had to be very close, if not when it was.
Dude, I'm kind of a similar way where like I don't remember where I really got hooked on BMX and it really started. For me, I feel like it was something that like kind of gradually happened. I've always like ever since I started riding, I've loved it, but I can't pinpoint exactly when I became obsessed with it.
Right, like there's a lot of people who be like, "Oh, I was watching X Games on TV and I saw this person do this thing," and they remember that moment that was like a catalyst in their life that just put them onto a different path that led them to where they were at saying that. And like, I don't remember any of that at all, even remotely. I never had that. I didn't like see X Games. If I did, it wasn't significant.
Damn, yeah, that's wild, man. And anyways, kind of to go back on that first bike shop bike, do you remember what kind of bike it was by chance?
Oh yeah, it's in the attic. I'm gonna rebuild it. But it was I don't know the exact year that they made them. I'm just guessing here, but I think it was the 2006 model of the Fit Team Complete.
Nice, dude. That is a awesome first bike. That is that's
All
wicked.
black.
Yeah. Dude, that's an awesome first like complete bike. I always kind of think back on like I was one of the kids that had just a super cheap, like backyard bike that I bought for my first one, and then I kind of had like Diamondbacks for years, and then finally after riding for like 2 years I got a Miraco, and that was like my first real bike. But
Yeah.
it's been wild, man. And for you, that Fit must have been the perfect setup to start out with.
Yeah, I mean, I never had any issues that I can remember at all with it. And I'm lucky that like my dad had done work for the guy. So like obviously owe it all to him and my parents for literally like at the drop of a hat. Hey, this guy wants to talk to you. All right, we're there in the next 10 minutes, having no idea that it's coming. And we're gonna drop a few $100s to pay the difference on this bike. It's crazy, but I don't ever remember having issues, and I did ride that bike for several years before changing like major parts on it.
Wild, man. Yeah, that's pretty sick. And anyways, like, what I find so awesome too is that you were like jumping spines within like the first day of riding that new complete. I was just out at the park yesterday, and my buddy Bailey, who is unreal on a bike, this dude did like this massive feeble on a like square rail to easy 180 out on like a nice down rail. This dude had never hit a spine, and he had to hit his first spine yesterday. And then, like, last year around this time, my buddy Tanner, same thing, had never hit a spine. And I'm like, how do we not, like, how have you never hit a spine before? But I guess it's just kind of the area here. We don't really have too many of them,
Yeah.
They're,
Yeah, that was kind of the thing, is like that was in the center of the skate park. And I vividly remember there being like several guys who were already like really good that were there. And it wasn't all good though, because I remember I dropped in both directions and I don't remember like thinking much of it, but I do remember my dad came to pick me up, and right as he was pulling in, I dropped in and my front tire slid out and I like bounced off the concrete real bad. And I don't know if I was hurt or anything, but it didn't affect like the obsession with BMX. But I do remember that being part of it, dropping in both ways, then hitting the spine. And then after that, I was like scared to hit it again for, I think till I was like 14 or something weird like that.
That's wild, man. And something that I kind of found really interesting is, for yourself, you've always been, at least for the most part, a pretty creative rider. When did that kind of start happening? And was it the people that you rode with at the beginning stages that influenced you to be so creative, or was it kind of something you adapted to over the years?
I feel like I've honed in on like where it's come from over the years here. So growing up, I just recently realized this, that like my style before I took it to like where it's at now and like went along with it was like a mashup of everyone that I rode with, literally, because like I was doing jumping tricks over the box and doing T-bogs and learning X up 1-footers and tire grabs and all this stuff, just like a couple of my buddies who'd ride at the trails and stuff. And then I was doing ice pick stalls and 5 taps and fufanus and that kind of stuff, just like a couple of my other buddies, and then crank flips and just stuff like that. And it was like combining all of the people that I rode with all into one and just doing everything they were doing. And then the creative thing, I mean, I think that really came, I remember like one of the very first clips that I would call like this beginning of the creative thing was I did a ice pick stall, and then I like sat on my tire and did a T-bog, and there was just randomly a little sign and a baseball at the skate park, and we like put them on the coping. I think my buddy who was filming Sponge put them on the coping randomly, and I like put my wheel down and it hit the ball and made it roll away, and then I pulled it up and went into it, and it was like totally unintentional, but it was just, that's one thing that like stood out. But I think I say it all the time that this next part legitimately changed the way I look at riding, the way I ride forever, was that when I went to school in Columbus, Hamilton lives down there, and somehow like I didn't know who he was when I went down to school, or never saw a video of him or anything. And then talking to people down there, I asked this guy if there's any local pros, and he's like, oh, there's Stephen Hamilton. I'm like, I don't know who that is. He's like, oh, you should watch his videos, whatever. But long story short, we ended up riding together somehow. And then somehow again, we just ended up riding more and more and more. And I would go out and I'd take pictures for him, film stuff. He'd take pictures of me. We just switch back and forth. And then through riding with him, I just like, subconsciously, I think I just kind of picked up on the way that he does things, where like we go to a spot or whatever, and he's like looking at the spot and then looking everywhere around the spot to see if there's other stuff around, to where it's like, oh, this spot is like, there's this pallet here, or this roof thing. The one spot that stands out a lot is this roof gap thingy that we went to that had like a sub box on top of it, and there's no run up to this thing. You had to jump up to it to get speed to it. And he just literally like had a board and a brick and jumped up there. And like I remember being like, oh my God, I don't want to jump up that, because it was pretty high and it was like a sketchy ramp. It was not solid at all. And he's just like, don't think about the ramp. Think about making it up there. Think about where you're trying to go. And then even if you bail or whatever, as long as you're thinking about where you want to go, you're going to get there. And it's through things like that and going to spots and looking at things for like more or less what they are rather than what I'm wanting to do on it and like adapting to what it is. I think that kind of had an effect on it too. And then more or less after that, I think Lip Lords did it because I just had this random idea. At the time, my buddy Sponge and I were making split videos, and I was just doing normal tricks in the videos, and he was doing normal tricks, whatever. But I had this idea. I was like, what if we made a video and it was only on this one quarter pipe, literally only lip tricks? And he wasn't like super into it, but he's the kind of person who's like, yeah, if you're into it, I'm down. I don't care. Let's just have fun and we'll do it. And that's why part one is like mostly me. But I filmed that video, and if you watch that one, it's pretty stock lip tricks. You know, it's nothing in there is like super crazy or creative. And with that, we filmed that video, and I started to kind of figure a couple things out. Like the main trick in there that I think about is the 5-tap, one-footed, one-hander. And my buddy, he's a legend. Hollywood was at the skate park that day, and he was getting ready to leave, and I landed it. And so I ran over and I showed it to him, and that's where the name of the Lip Lord's name came from. He was like, oh, that's sick. The Lip Lords, they'd be stoked on that, whatever. So there's part one in the background. So I think, to sum it all up, making those videos and forcing us to ride one ramp, like it forces creativity because you have to be creative to make anything happen. So like in watching this, you can see that there's a lot of stuff in here. It's like base level tricks. I mean, it's all really good. It's just, it's not quite to that creative level yet.
Yeah, absolutely. It's wild to see some of this stuff that's in here, especially because this is back in 2013. So this is all stuff that's like, 8 years old at this point. If not older. I used to be like almost, I guess 8, but yeah, dude, it's crazy to see just how good you guys were even back then, and like the creativity is sick as well.
Thank you. Yeah, it's like stuff like that. I was already somewhat just seeing what I could throw into 5-taps before we started filming this, but then I think just that clip right there that was in the background, the 5-tap to put the tire on the railing. There's another one, that one I 180'd out, but the first one I went to fakie on. I think it's stuff like that. That was an accident. I put my front tire on the railing and just kind of like recognized, oh, I could do something with this. And then the next video, building more and more because you run out of tricks. Like I did everything I could do for the first one.
Yeah.
And doing more and more of those and becoming just obsessed with the next thing. I want to do the next trick. I want to get the next Lip Lords out. And we just had, Sponge and I had so much fun just figuring out what we could do out on that ramp. And that is what I think like really just brought it out.
Dude, that's sick. Yeah, this last clip here looks really cool. You had just went over the side, and I believe it's you just running up, going back at it. Yeah, there we go. And right back in. That is so dope,
keep watching.
Dude. Yeah.
Keep watching.
Oh, big fufanoo. Dude, what are your tips for fufanoos on back rails? Because I am a little bitch and I will not do one. I want to learn them so bad, but my fufanoos even suck at this point. So
work your way up to it is the biggest thing. Start on a small sub. Like I had a quarter pipe in my driveway and we had a grind ledge. And one day I realized I could just put it up on top of that. And so I was foofing that because it had a round coping on it. And that was like the medium step. But I think the biggest thing that I think would help with someone for fufanoos is, one, you got to be good at them. Like get yourself to the point where you're comfortable in a fufanoo and do a couple smaller subs. Two, sprocket guard, because you are going to hit your sprocket on the first couple where you like don't commit and you let your bike fall down. And then three, recognize that you're more than likely not going to go over on a fufanu. You don't really have to worry about going over the back rail because you're so far back. I mean, I've even had times where I was like an idiot back years and years ago where I would like do that sub rail foof every time I was at the park. And the one day it was raining. It was like starting to rain. And I was like, oh, I haven't done it. So I'm going to do it real quick. And then my back wheel slipped out from underneath me and I just fell onto the rail and onto the deck of the ramp and I was fine. And it's like through stuff like that, you realize like you're not really going to go over usually. I mean, if you go way too fast, you might go over, but like going too slow and working your way up to it like that. And there's a way bigger range on your tire than you think would even work too. Like it doesn't look as good, but you don't have to land like on top of the railing. You can almost wall slap it on the like vertical part of your tire and it will stick. So like there's more forgiveness than you might think.
Hell yeah, dude. And I know that you were saying that, like, you know, you really don't have to worry about falling over, but the one clip that I have seen of someone falling over is probably the worst time that you could ever fall over the rail. You've probably seen it. It's the clip of Corey Burglar from the Scotty Kramer channel. It's old, like maybe 15 years old.
Was he foofing it or was he icing it though?
I believe, I can't remember if he was foofing the thing, but I think him and Scott were both doing a foofanu on this back rail, and there's like a 15-foot drop to the other side where he's going to land in grass, and he just goes like right over.
I feel like that one might not have been a foofanu. It might have been, but it's one of those like rare situations. And it was like that setup was like a bank, flat, small quarter pipe to that back rail, so it'd be easy to overjudge your speed coming in at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that looked terrifying, man.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I mean, the one clip in there where I went over is one of the few times that I have gone over to back rail, and they've all been on double pegs.
Yeah.
The same with an ice. An ice, every time I'm ever doing a big ice pick like that, I'm leaning my weight so that I just get onto the ice and pop back in so that if something goes wrong, you are over the deck.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, there's it's got to be absolutely terrifying. Anyways, you know, let's talk a little bit about Ohio, because if I'm correct, you are an Ohio resident and have been pretty much your whole life. And dude, the shredders from Ohio are crazy. Obviously, you know, we talked a little bit about Stephen Hamilton, and then I believe Nick Bruce is Ohio as well, if I'm correct. And yeah, dude, the list goes on, honestly. But what's the scene like there, just for like the average rider? Because it seems like a lot of the parks, you know, you've got some really good ones like Rays, and then I don't know, you got like a couple of these prefabs like that one. So it's always interesting to see how the difference in parks will, like, I don't know, brew different kinds of riders, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's like every skate park has like their scene or whatever, and there's pretty much, I mean, I can't really think of any of the scenes around through the years. I mean, obviously they come and go, that didn't have at least one or two like really amazing riders. And even now there's so many like amazing dudes that are around. I feel like the fact that we're in Ohio and we have winter and you have to go ride inside if you want to ride in the wintertime, pretty much, unless you're going to really tough it out right in the snow. I feel like that kind of like molds people too into where like a lot of people are really well rounded in Ohio. Most people who can ride really good in Rays can also ride really good street or whatever. There's only a few that are really segmented. As far as like the scene right now, I feel like it's better than it was a couple years ago as far as how many people there were and stuff. The only thing I keep thinking about is like my local park, because just I grew up there. I don't know what it is about that place, but it feels like every single person who's ever like dedicated themselves to riding has just gotten amazing there. Like there's a period in time where we would have sessions where like crazy stuff is going down every single time we're there, and there's like 10 people there every time, and it's like could be 10 different people because there were so many people around that were so good and so many people riding.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a jam video that you posted on your channel a little while ago, and dude, it looked insane. Like just the amount of guys who were unreal. There's like a dude doing a like, you know, pegs on the fence, which is sick, but yeah, it's just dude, the scene looks incredible there.
Yeah, there's a lot of really great riders, and I think also the fact that Rays and I mean Changa not as much, because I feel like more people go to Rays. I feel like having Rays through the winter kind of brings everybody together too. Whereas like in another area where it stays warm, you might not see the whole entire spectrum of people all the way through the state, just because they don't have to really go anywhere to ride. They can stay in their local area and ride. But in the winter here, if you want to ride, you have to go to Rays or Changa or somewhere else. And because Rays is such an amazing spot, everybody goes there. And through the winter, everybody gets to hang out together and everything from all over the entire state. So I think that we get a closeness through that too, almost, just in that everybody knows everybody and we're all friends and we all enjoy riding together for the most part.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that has been very common in the last few guests is they've all mentioned that, you know, living kind of where they are, you know, basically being close to the border of Canada and whatnot, and just being in those kind of top states, you deal with the weather, right? Like you have a certain amount of time every year where you just can't ride. And it's something that allows you to recharge and come back even better a lot of the times, right? And I find that's so true. I wonder if that's kind of similar for you. But for me, I like to be able to kind of take the winters off and ride maybe a couple times instead of, you know, trying to get out every single day. I think it kind of does help, you know? How do you feel about that?
I could not take, if I given the choice, I would ride every single day if I could. Every single day. I recognize that you need rest days too, but if that wasn't a thing, I would ride every single day of my life, just because it's legitimately my entire life. Like the reason YouTube became a thing is because I want BMX to be my entire life. I want, and it has been forever. It's revolved around it forever at this point. So like I can see why somebody would want to take time off in the winter, but I could never ever do it unless I had to.
Yeah, fair enough. That makes a lot of sense. And I think for you personally too, like BMX is so important. And you know, I'm not saying it's not as important as it is for me, but I find that like just myself, these conversations do so much for me as well through BMX. And I'm like, again, if I wasn't doing this, I would be going nuts. It is just something that I have and that I can do throughout the winter season to kind of, you know, hold myself still within BMX and still be really excited to go back in the spring. And I think just everything within Canada too is a little different because it is so, you know, the weather here is ridiculous at points.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you're in Ohio, so you kind of get it as well.
Yeah, and I mean everybody has their like things, you know,
Yeah.
like you feel the way you do about BMX and these are your recharge and someone else is different. So yeah, it's just it is what it is, you know. Everybody's got their thing.
Definitely. And a second ago, you mentioned YouTube, and I would love to jump on the topic of YouTube because I think YouTube is where you have really grown and become as popular as you are. And I'm not saying that you wouldn't have got there without it, because, dude, your riding is incredible. You are an
Thank you.
insane rider with so much talent. So when it comes to YouTube, you know, what kind of got you started? What gave you the idea to really start doing a YouTube channel? And did you take it super seriously at first, or was it, you know, upload a video, not really care, and then one day you kind of had that click?
I so it stemmed from Instagram. I never wanted to have an Instagram ever. Literally, like I don't know if I was just being like jaded or a hater or what, but I was just like, I don't want Instagram. I just don't want to do it. And then one day I remember I was riding with Zach Gerber and he was dropping me off at my apartment in Columbus. I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't know how Instagram came up or whatever, but I'm just like, I don't want to do it. I was like, I'm never going to be one of those paid riders or whatever. It's not like I have to do it. And then he's just like, you might want to think twice about it, dude. Like, just kind of like being that devil's advocate and like, you might want to think about it or try it or whatever. And when someone like that tells you something like that, I was just like, fine, basically. and so I got an Instagram and I posted old stuff, I posted new stuff, whatever. And it got to a point where I was filming in the sessions. I was filming so much that it was just too much to post on Instagram because they had the 15-second limit or whatever. So you can only post so much. And even if you post every single day, like 15 seconds isn't a lot of time. And I think at that point, I maybe had made a YouTube page, and I literally, my first stuff, and you can go back and see it to this day. The first thing I did when I made a YouTube page was upload every single Instagram video I had ever posted. So if you go to the videos thing and click oldest as the filter there, you'll see that the very first videos that I uploaded to the channel are all 15-second long videos from Instagram.
Yeah, that is wild, eh?
And it was a lot. It's like hundreds of videos. And it was one of those like meticulous, tedious things that I don't know why, but my brain like feels like it enjoys those things for some reason, even though I hate it while I'm doing it. But so I did that. And then my whole mindset there was, if I make a YouTube page, I don't see anybody uploading their Instagram clips, their Instagram 15-second long videos to YouTube. Maybe something could happen that way because nobody's doing it. So from there came the whole thing of, well, I'm filming so much for Instagram. Why don't I just put it into a little bit longer of a video and post it on YouTube as well, which you're probably seeing some of that now. And I thought maybe, I don't know, maybe something could happen from that. And I mean, you probably know, being someone who's on YouTube, like you always have these ideas for like, oh, maybe this will do something. And then it doesn't. So you're just like, moving on to the next idea. I'm going to do that and see if it does something. So that was a thing. And then I got to the point where like my whole mindset with YouTube was like, I wanted to make something happen, but I didn't want to do it the way everyone else was. And I didn't want to talk to the camera. I didn't want to do it. So once I started making those like session videos, I was like, what if I did vlogging, but without the vlog part? So I just filmed random pieces of my day, like a Snapchat story. If you export it out today, is basically what it was, and put those on YouTube for like 40 days in a row or something like that. They were called life clips. I don't know how far you'd have to go to get there, but so I would do those. And once again, it was like, well, that's not doing anything. Nobody's watching them, whatever. So I started to do research on like what do you need to do to be successful on YouTube, like learning about SEO and background stuff on YouTube and how you can optimize your videos, or when it comes to thumbnails, whatever, to just give yourself the best chance. And that's when everyone would talk about consistency. And then they talk about upload schedule and all of this stuff. So from the life clips thing, while I recognized that it wasn't really doing anything, and I started filming more and more, I developed a schedule. Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, or whatever, I would upload a video. And then through that, I recognized, like, obviously you're getting more views when you're uploading a video. So what if I upload videos more often? And then my mind went to, okay, now what can I do to provide more videos than what I'm doing now? Like, and so my brain went to like the Tuesday tip thing. Cause at that point, like I made a video for Alienation a long time ago on how to take tires off without a tire lever. And, so those things popped into my mind, and I don't even know what the earliest one of those that I made was, but I was like, oh, this is an easy thing I can do every Tuesday. We'll just make a Tuesday tip video. So that became a thing. And then I kept doing more and more of those, and I have to talk to the camera to do that. And I went with that for a long time. There was quite a while before the news came from there, but it was like I clearly recognized the more I uploaded, the better things went. And I mean, this was a point in time where it's like the subscriber count would go up 1 or 2 a week.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a lot that goes into doing YouTube. And even for myself, man, I don't have that many subs. And I get, honestly, it's funny because the viewer count and like the views on my podcast on YouTube say nothing compared to the listeners that I get. And it's because it's a podcast. Most people listen to this. Even though I love doing video, it's something that is mainly an audio platform. But kind of going off of that, within YouTube and whatnot, it is such a challenge to get to the point where you are, and I'm like so happy that you were able to get there, because I think you're the perfect person for it. You're very dedicated, and you work very hard, and it's one of those things that when you see someone who's doing daily uploads, dude, there's a lot that goes into that. And as someone who only uploads like one video a week, but it's like long form, I know how much work you're doing, man. It's wild.
Yeah, there's no getting away from how much work goes in. I mean, dude, there was a point in time, because I told this story on the Yeah Dude Sick podcast, but like the reason why I started going like hard on YouTube, I made my channel before I got laid off in 2016, but like I got laid off from my $45,000 a year job doing video work. And so I was like, well, I'm on unemployment right now. I have this opportunity. Like maybe I can make something happen on YouTube in the next 6 months, and hopefully it'll work out. And so it's in that time that I'm like, okay, what's the next thing I can do? Like that I'm trying to make YouTube happen, just because that's a dream for a lot of people. Is like, it's incredible the things that can come from YouTube. And I'm recognizing at the same time, like if I make YouTube successful, I'm not relying on X, Y, or Z bike company to pay me a check every month. I'm relying on myself and Google. Like this is a giant corporation that's paying me, so I don't get anything from the industry, and the industry doesn't have to pay me money from BMX. I'm making money from Google. And so that 6 months goes by and like nothing happens, but I'm still like, I'm such an obsessive, like determined perseverance type person that I'm like, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep it going. So it got to a point where like, I had to figure out something else that I'm going to do. So when it came to it, I got to a point with YouTube where I was doing Photoshop editing and YouTube at the same time. And I was working on stuff for pretty much the entire day, every single day, from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed, other than riding or eating. And it was just gnarly. It's a lot. Like anybody who's thinking about doing YouTube, if you want to be actually successful with it, you have to be willing to do it for nothing for years, because that's exactly what's going to happen unless you get extremely lucky. I don't know who said it or if somebody notable said it or not, but they say that like behind every single like blow up or insanely successful person is like, or behind every overnight success is 15 years of hard work.
Dude, and
it's the truth.
That's such a great example, and this is kind of like BMX related. We all know that Brad Sims was a huge rider even years ago, but in the past year, in the past 2, 3 years, how big Brad has gotten, and he's finally getting the credit he deserves. He's kind of an
Hmm.
example of that, right? Like he has been notable within the scene, but a lot of
Yeah.
people really didn't, a lot of companies wouldn't really mess with him, anything like that, and now he's finally getting there. And dude, it's something that I see with YouTube as well. Like there's so many dudes within the BMX community that are doing it now, and there's very few that are on top, right? Like we've got our Anthony
Yeah.
Panzas, Billy Perry, Scotty Kramer, and then yourself, and quite a few others too. But like, dude, it's a lot of work and it's not easy. And I'm kind of in the same boat as you, where I was laid off, and I'm not like, this is what I'm doing. I want to be able to do this myself because
Hmm.
after years of working for a different person, I've decided that that is not the route I want to take. If I'm going
Yeah.
to do anything, I need to do it myself because I just, I don't know, man. When you put so much dedication into something, like you really want it to pay off, you know?
Yeah. And I think I gotta remember the steps to get to where you finished here. But I wanted to bring up that like Brad Sims is a perfect example of someone who has figured out like the intricacies of like social media. I don't know if he did it intentionally or not, but I feel like Brad Sims has used Instagram to really, he's leveraged Instagram to help him get to where he's at, and he figured out, you can clearly see it in the stuff that he's doing and like the similarities between the things that he's doing a lot, because those are the things that like blow up, and he's like figured out what types of things to do that really go crazy online, and just doing more and more of that. And and he's using it to just blow up, and it's working, and it's cool to see. And then like the whole getting laid off and wanting to make something happen thing, like dude, I've known forever that I did not want to have like a full-time job and a boss. Like I feel like I've known that for my entire life. And then getting laid off, I got to a point where I'm like, I'm never ever doing this again, ever. I don't care what it takes.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I don't know, man. I really wanted to have you on the show so I could talk a little bit with you about this as someone who's gone this route, and it's really good to be sitting down and kind of hearing about this. And something that I found so interesting that I didn't get to mention earlier was the fact that with YouTube, you started by posting your Instagram clips. And
Mm-hmm.
now YouTube has come full circle where the algorithm is really picking up on shorts and YouTube
Yeah.
shorts, right? Because they want to
Yeah.
compete with TikTok and Instagram Reels and all this other stuff. So it's funny that it's like, had you done that now instead of back then, you'd have all this footage for it. And I know that you're still doing it now. You do upload a reel, or sorry, a YouTube short, once a weekish, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that like, how has that helped you personally?
Shorts or what?
Just shorts in general. Like I know that they're supposed to kind of break the algorithm. There's a whole video about it and how it's technically not in the same thing, and it'll get fed to people who have never seen you before, because it's supposed to be like TikTok, right? Where you'll just scroll
Yeah.
up and the next one will pop up.
Yeah. For first, it's too bad that I didn't upload all of my Instagram videos as vertical videos, because had I, they'd all be shorts.
Yeah, right.
Because the YouTube picked up on even old videos, and they didn't pick up on square format. It's got to, the rules are it has to be vertical and less than 60 seconds. So it was like, hadn't thought about that till now. So thanks. But I mean, in all honesty, there's just one video that picked up in shorts that like completely blew things up to another level, and I recognized the potential of it before I made it, to where this one video has 1.4 million views right now and got me 6,000 subscribers.
Whoa, that is wild, dude.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about it is, and like people would think, oh, automatically they try to connect money to that. That video has on 1.4 million views has made $3.
That's funny.
because they don't have a way to monetize shorts yet. But I think I uploaded it at just the perfect time for that to happen, because since then, nothing that I've uploaded, or not since then, but since a certain point, everything I've uploaded just has gotten nowhere near. It hasn't even gotten like 5,000 views, because I think they're starting to finally like implement it. More and more people are hearing about it. But when I posted that first short, it was at a point where there were like hundreds of thousands of people uploading shorts, not millions and millions and millions like there are right now. So like, it almost feels like a missed boat if you didn't get in on it before. And for whatever reason, this video is continuing to do what it's doing. But the shorts thing, I recognized what it was when I saw there was a channel that it was 500 million views and 1 million subscribers or something like that in a month.
Whoa, that is fucking wild.
It was somebody who made 3D animated Among Us videos, and they just completely blew up. And I saw a video talking about it, and I was like, well, okay. And it's kind of crazy that you mentioned the whole full circle thing, because I just posted yesterday, and then a couple weeks ago or whatever, I posted clips that I posted on Instagram as shorts on YouTube, which is kind of hilarious. 6 years or 5.5 years later, that I'm coming back to where it started.
Dude, it's wild to think about, right? And it's crazy to see that you kind of firsthand saw the potential with YouTube Shorts, and it worked for one of the videos. It sucks that it hasn't done anything else for you since then, but dude, to see that like you gained 6,000 subscribers from that is incredible, man. That's a big number.
Yeah, it's insane. And there's a couple other ones that kind of popped off a little bit, but not near as big. Like there's one that got 77,000. The one that really like got me psyched, just because of like the state of edits and videos in BMX right now, and just the fact that like they get, unless you're super pro or at the top tier of BMX, they just don't get very much attention right now. Or you post it on Instagram or whatever. But I posted instead of making like the typical 2020 year end video, I was like, well, I'll just make a short from it and post that. So I posted that one up, and it's got 160,000 views. So like, dang, a riding edit that I just made into a short got almost over 150,000 views. Like, just because it's a short, it's cool to see. But like, there haven't really been many more that have done that. And since things it was when they opened up the beta to the whole entire US, is when things really just like the competition became so great that now it's like 1,000 views is the most I've seen them really get. But I recognized what it was when it was there and took advantage of it, and it seems to have helped quite a lot. But it just like anybody else who's like, I don't want to say anybody else, because in the grand scheme of things, like 25,000 subscribers isn't insane. But hearing like people who are like really big talk about growing on YouTube and stuff, they talk about like there's always going to be those blow up moments where something goes crazy and then things level off, and then something goes crazy and then things level off. And basically becoming successful on YouTube is a series of, as long as you're consistent enough at what you're doing, you're going to have the blow up moment. And if you keep it going, it's going to level off. And then there's going to be another one. It's going to keep leveling off. It's basically to the point where I figured out that YouTube is an algorithm for consistency. You've put something in, if it blows up, if you continue to feed it, it's just going to stay where it levels off at, rather than dying back to where it was before.
Definitely, man. And I think, when we see successes from some of these people, especially like Scotty Kramer, we can see that Scotty had an audience beforehand, right? Like he was by far one of the best riders in the world. And for him to jump onto YouTube, I remember, I was one of his first viewers. Like I watched his first thing when it came out, and subscribed right away. But you can see that the numbers popped off instantly. So for you, as someone who, is kind of doing it all on their own and making a name for themselves in a different way within BMX. I think you're doing really well, man, and you should really be stoked on how much you've done so far. And honestly, I give it a matter of time, and you'll be on top of the world with that, because I think the variety of content that you put out is incredible, right? Like, it's not just riding. You talk about all of the, BMX news that's going on. You do reviews on parts and whatnot, which I don't see anybody else doing, like you were kind of one of the big reasons that the planetary coaster blew up in a certain way. Like, you really explained it.
Freaking stoked on all of that. Like, I wish I had, damn, I would have gave you a preview, but I don't have it with me right this second. But Alienation has posted about it since then. And since this is coming out on Wednesday, I guess you know what? You have the power to pause. I'll be right back. Okay. So since you brought up the Free Night hub and the all of that stuff, got something really interesting. And since this is coming out on Wednesday, I might as well show it off, because my video on it is coming out Tuesday.
Ooh. I'm excited.
Yeah. This right here, I gotta make sure it's presentable, make sure it looks good, because dude, this is like the craziest thing. This, like, by far the coolest thing that I've ever done in the BMX like world.
Oh, dude,
been a part of.
I'm so excited
right now. And for all the people listening, you should probably go to YouTube, because it's just cool to see, I think.
Absolutely. Plus, when you're on YouTube, you get to see this show in high 1080p, 60 frames per second.
Hey, can't beat that. All right, so check this out. This right here is the Alienation Venus hub.
Ooh, dude, that is fucking hype. That is so cool.
This is the next planetary internal hub that's coming out that I helped design. I named the hub with Alienation, and actually this is the first time I'm saying it online, because in my video I didn't say it yet. The polished is actually going to be my signature colorway.
Nice, dude. I am fucking hyped for you. That is awesome, man. That is so cool. And dude, the polish matches up so well, especially with the video you recently did polishing in a front Alienation hub.
Well, that's why I did it, because and they're going to be making that front hub in polished now too. So it's cool. But yeah, the whole process, like, I guess now we've seen this, we'll get to this in a second, but being involved with the Free Night hub, like, first I talked about it in a news video, and Tal, the guy at Free Night, like, saying thank you and stuff, and somehow we got to a point where it was like he offered to send one for me to make videos about, or something like that. I honestly can't remember exactly how the conversation went, but I ended up with the hub to make a video about it, and I put the video out and it just kind of started to blow up. Then I put out the riding video with it, and it really took off, and things just started going crazy with these videos. And it was at a time where it was kind of confusing to me, because it seemed like nobody in the industry was talking about this thing. And like, I got it, because like, being a pro rider for a company, you can't talk about this. Like, I mean, you can, but if you have your own self-interest in mind, you're not going to talk about a product from another company. So I see why they're not. And then Free Night doesn't have the money to pay our BMX or Vital BMX or Dig or whatever to promote it. So like, they're not going to be posting about it. So it was like at a time where just no one was talking about it. And I was just confused. I was like, why is nobody talking about this thing after the news video? And I think that was part of what maybe brought up the conversation of, well, I can make videos about this thing for you and try and help promote it. And then it just blew up when that happened, and it was crazy.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That hub is incredible, and it really has taken the BMX world by storm, because now we're seeing two companies with their own version of it. Now we've got BSD, who just came out with the Revolutionary hub, and then of course Alienation with your signature colorway on that hub. So, dude, it was something that, like, when I first saw this coaster, because I was one of the people who did see it very early on through Free Night.
Yeah.
I knew that this was going to blow up at some point and that it was only a matter of time, right? And I honestly believe within 5 years, we're not going to have the same free coasters that we have now, right? Like, even look at the Odyssey Clutch V2, right? It has become one of the most popular free coasters, but you still have that slack, and it still has, that pressure that you need to put forward beforehand, whereas this doesn't have that. And I think anybody who rides cassette like myself, this is the best hub to get to adopt a free coaster, essentially.
Yeah, and I feel like on your note of like recognizing that it was going to blow up early on, I think I did too, just being that it's like, this is legitimately game changing. I posted that first video just because I can right now. Let's see, game changing hub. Game-changing BMX hub, new details, June 28th, 2019. That video got 4,000 views. I'm like, yeah, I see why, because the hub is crazy. Then the next video talking about the hub again a little bit, 3,000 views. And then the video comes out showing the internals of it, but not really showing that much, and that got 1,000 views. Then my next video of it is inside that hub, and it's 45,000 views. Like, that's the video right there. And I feel like I recognized it from the start and was confused at why no one was talking about it. So I just made videos about it and kept making. My whole entire channel like pretty much came devoted to that thing for a couple weeks as the videos were going crazy. And I recognized through everything I learned about YouTube that I shouldn't be uploading other stuff while this video is going crazy. I should just be following it up with the same thing because people are enjoying it, and I'll give them more information. And it kept going and going and going. And then obviously I got to a point where it was like, everything I can do on this thing is out there. And then it was crazy because Grant Smith at BSD, he emailed me to like tell me something about, I can't even quite remember right now. And since this is so long form, I feel like I might as well pull that up too.
Yeah, do it up, man. Anything you want.
So he sent me an email in November, early November, and oh, never mind. That's not the one. Either way, he sent me videos, or sent me, man, I can't talk right now. I'm sorry.
Dude, it's all good. Don't worry about it.
But he sent me an email kind of like, oh, this hub, I'll give you more information about it and whatnot. Because he saw that I was talking about the fact that that something information came out or whatever. And then he ended up offering to send me one as a gift from BSD, like personally from him. And it was like, holy shit, this is crazy. Like, he wants to send me a sub. So I made videos about that one, and those blew up too. And he even, like, he knew that I was going to be making videos about it before he sent it. And he still sent it before they put their videos out, knowing mine were going to come out before theirs. And it was just crazy to think about the fact that dude owns a bike company sending me a part, random guy on YouTube to make a video about before they can make a video about it, knowing that like everyone wants to know about this thing. And so I did, the videos blew up or whatever. And then when Dig posted about it the first time and I got included in all that, it was like, I don't know, man, it was like the most rewarding thing to read, because it was like, dude, like I helped make all of this go. It was nuts. And all the while Nobody knew it, but we were in talks like with Zach at Alienation. Like he's asking questions about the free night and figuring things out, and then talking to free night too. And then it comes to a point where I don't think I have it right here, but I might. No, I don't. Damn it. It's got to be somewhere though, where I drew something out, and then that inspired the shape of this hub that Zach drew up. And then the letters on it came from the fact that I was trying to figure out some way that you could use persistence of vision on a BMX hub so that when it's spinning, you can read ALN as if it was on the same line somehow. So the CNC that you can see in there and people who are listening can hear about came from that as well. And then he was talking about trying to think up a name, and he was like, he had something that was kind of like cosmic. And I immediately, the first thought that came to mind was, wait a minute, aren't there planets that spin backwards relating to all the other planets? Like, how sick would it be to call this hub it's like a planetary internal hub. How sick would it be to use a name of a planet that goes backwards? Like, it's a free coaster, you go backwards. So that's where the name came from.
Dude, that's incredible, man. That's so cool. And to hear that, like, you know, obviously you played a pretty big role in getting the planetary hub out there for people to see. And honestly, I feel like had you not done that, it might have been kind of a flop in a certain way, right? Where people might have just saw it as a gimmick. And that's something that we're seeing in BMX a lot of nowadays, is that companies come out with all of these new innovative things, but people just look at it as like a gimmick, or, oh, you know, why are we doing this? Why aren't we sticking with what's tried and true? Which I don't think is the answer. I think that some of the most innovative companies in BMX deserve a lot more, deserve a lot more.
Oh, for sure. And being that I can't say for sure that it would have flopped had I not made videos about it. It's crazy to think about that that's even a possibility, because I never would have dreamed that I could have an effect like that on anything. But like, to hear the questions about it, like, people just didn't understand the hub. They didn't understand how it worked. They didn't understand the concept or the point or anything like that. And it was like almost to a point where it was frustrating to read about that and hear all this from people, and hear, oh, it's the same as the Ezra, like, but it's not. It's based on the Ezra, yeah, but it's not the same thing. And all of those comments and things, and like, to have my videos clear that up, and how many people were like, I'm buying this thing, after seeing in the comments, or tell me like all of the notes that would come through the store, because his shop's web store was the only place you could buy the free night. It was like incredible. And like, in the beginning of it all, I was genuinely like scared that, because I rode the hub and I was like, I never ever in my life want to ride a different style hub ever, because this thing has legitimately changed my riding. It's taken fakies from a means to an end just to get out of like a ice to fakie or an abubica or whatever, and it's ugly as hell. It's taken it from that to a part of the trick, and I'm like, dude, what if nobody buys this thing, it dies, and then I have to go back to a cassette one day because there's none out there to get? And I'm like nervous about that a little bit. And then BSDs come out, and then Zach at Alienation's asking me questions about it and saying how he's in talks with them. And I'm like, dude, like, yes. And now I've got my hands on something that I helped design and named, and got a colorway on it. Like, I don't know. It's just the coolest thing that I've ever had happen within BMX for me.
Absolutely, man. And, earlier you had mentioned about getting free products from companies, just to kind of do these videos and whatnot, and how it blows your mind that somebody from this company will just like, take that and do it because they believe in you. And that's something that I kind of felt recently when Robbo from Cult sent me a brand new ProTech full cut helmet, the Cult version of it. and like literally just for having me, just for being on my podcast. And I was like, dude, that is like ridiculously nice, right? Like
Yeah.
I feel as if I owe like a debt to Colt, and it was awkward because he had sent it to me, and about a week later I hopped on the new United frame from my Colt Chase Hawk frame. But here's the thing, for anybody who's wondering, my Chase Hawk frame is 4.5 years old, and that thing is going strong. I absolutely recommend Colt, dude. They are the best when it comes to that shit, dude. Like, I just got to say that right now. That's my personal opinion. I don't know about you, Brant, but yeah,
My
it's
only
sick.
thing I'll say here is I don't recommend riding a frame for 4.5 years.
Dude, it's
Even
literally,
if it's holding up.
yeah,
I had a friend who would literally brag about, I've been riding this same frame for 9 years now. I'm like, bro, you are just waiting to die.
yeah,
It's coming. It's coming. Frames don't last forever. No BMX frame, except for maybe when they were overbuilt, is going to last you forever if you're riding it past a certain level. It's just the nature of it. It's metal. Metal flexes, welds can break. It happens. Doesn't matter who you are, what company it is. And yeah, I just don't recommend 4.5 years. Couple years,
dude.
sure.
Absolutely, and I fully understand that because I was an idiot and rode the same forks for 4.5 years, and then they gave out over a box jump the one day, and yeah, my teeth have never been the same. However, I gotta say, like, cult stuff holds up, which is sick, and I love them. Thank you guys. And the only reason that I went to United from that was because I have wanted this caveman frame since 2016, and the opportunity popped up, and I was like, I'm doing it. I need it. It was
Yeah.
just it was a big part of it. But
Yeah, you don't see too many other frames out there with that shape. So Colt, if you made one like that, he'd probably have it.
oh my God, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyways, to go back here on everything that you're doing, because again, dude, like just to see this new hub popping up and seeing the innovation behind it and, everything with Free Night, I really, I hope that Free Night becomes a household name because they really deserve the credit for all the work that they put into this hub, especially, with the design and whatnot, because when it comes to innovating a product that's going to take the market by storm, it's pretty difficult, right? Like we've
Oh,
seen, yeah,
1000%. I mean, the only other example like this one that is in the similar position was the pivotal seat and seat post, because they're still to this day making money off of that design and the fact that they patented it. And when BSD did their announcement thing with Dig and they posted all that up, I knew it was coming and all of that, but I didn't know to what extent that they were gonna like include Free Night and Tal in the conversation. And I was like, I was full out ready, and I was ready to go to rage mode on a news video, like, how the hell is BMX going to let this thing exist for a full year? And then when the next one comes out, act like I was just waiting on them BMX to act like this had never existed before.
yeah,
But when Dig did the announcement, it was the opposite. It was BSD and Tal and Free Night and Grant Smith had been working together for 2 years. And that was like the main focus on this thing, to talk about how much these guys have been working together and collaborating on this whole entire thing. And it was such a pleasant surprise to see, because I just wouldn't be surprised in BMX to see everyone be like, oh my God, this thing's crazy. It's never even been thought of before. And I can't believe BSD invented this. Like, it wouldn't have surprised me to see that, and to see them give credit where credit was due, and then even include me in the whole conversation. Like, it was awesome to see that. Every single company that posted about it made sure that they included the original in that, and it was awesome. And it's just good to see people who are working hard at something like that. And I mean, he worked on that, I think it was for like 6 years before the original one came out. And to see that was just, it was just good to see, I guess.
dude, absolutely. And while we're on the topic of innovation in BMX, let's talk about some of the things that haven't really been, as popular And one of the things that I was kind of really upset to see was when We the People came out with the new, or I guess it's not new because they never actually released it, but they released like product photos of it and they were talking about it. And it was the Battleship frame with the tapered headset and tapered fork. And that's something that was directly taken from mountain biking, right? And like when you see the dudes who are doing Red Bull Rampage and this kind of stuff, yes, they have shocks, but their bikes are built to compensate for that. And then you look at some of the riding that BMX is enduring these days. When you've got, you know, a random 16-year-old kid doing a double bar spin down El Toro, it's like, dude, you gotta have this overbuilt stuff sometimes. And I was kind of disappointed that it never went anywhere. And it was something that you mentioned in a recent video where, you know, it was about the cinema stem and how everybody asks for all this stuff that's different, and then it shows up and, you know, we're all like, nope, I just want the same old stem.
Yeah, here, since we're on that topic.
Dude, I might catch a lot of flack for this. I actually really like the look of that stem. I gotta be honest.
That. I did want to have one final note on the free night thing and talking about innovation and everything. I meant to say it earlier. I give it a couple of years, and every single company whose name is worth anything in BMX is going to have a planetary free coaster hub. Period. It's going to happen. I already know of 3 others that are in the works right now.
Wild.
So it's going to happen. But yeah, when it comes to the whole innovation thing, see, the reason why I feel like the whole We the People thing didn't really happen is because how often do you hear of people like snapping a fork at that point, or snapping the head tube off of their frame, or whatever that design is made to like prevent? So like your average dude who's riding, I mean, I've snapped a fork off at the whatever, but that was because I bought the cheapest possible fork that you could buy from Dan's Comp, that was also the lightest possible fork you could buy. So that was like kind of my own fault, setting myself up by buying the cheapest, lightest possible thing. But like the majority of normal casual riders are not breaking down head tubes off or breaking forks, and things like the Odyssey R32 exist. So like they look at something like that and they're like, well, I don't need that because I'm not dropping off of roofs. So like, it's one of those things where it's like, it makes sense for the people who need it, but the people who drive the market aren't the ones who need it. Like the little kids who are just buying bikes because it's a different color they don't need that.
That's a really good point, man. I think you kind of cleared it up there, especially for me, because as someone who did ride, you know, a set of forks from a very prominent brand that, you know, blew up on me at my own fault. Let me make that clear. My own fault. I rolled them for way too long. Yeah, I don't know. I was always, and I've kind of, if you've seen any of my video parts, right? Like the banger, or like the last clip in my last video part was jumping off my buddy's house, like his 2-story house, into his little mini ramp, and just stuff like that, right? Like I've always been that kind of guy who's taken a lot of inspiration from Burns and the Bone Death crew and just anybody who likes to send big gnarly shit, you know? And I don't know, for me, I was kind of like, that would make a lot of sense, but yeah, I can see why it didn't pick up. And there's something I'm kind of really interested to hear about from your perspective. Where do you think the carbon rims are going to go? Because in Canada, the price on the carbon rims is just so astronomically high. It's $450 Canadian per rim, you know, just the rim tape. That's it. A nice looking box. I'll admit that. You guys did a good job with the box. It comes in a really good packaging. I like that. But yeah, what's your opinion, man?
I think they're gonna probably do well. I believe they're made for racing originally. We're talking about the Alienation ones, right?
I was actually talking about the Eclat ones, because Eclat just came out with some.
I'll have you know,
let's talk
the
about
Alienation ones were out and available when Eclat was claiming that they made the first carbon fiber BMX rim. Either way, though, yeah, that's real life. Like it was comical to see it all happen. But either way, either one of them doesn't matter. I find that the people who care that much about weight are the ones who are willing to drop the money. The guys who are getting tie spokes and all that stuff, and those there's a lot of those people out there. So like, as long as the bike companies aren't overbuying and not able to sell like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in product that they have to just sit on or discount to get rid of, I feel like they'll probably do well, especially considering like people like Mike Feedy. I mean, I don't know how often he's like really riding hard, but he's a really, really good rider, and he's been riding those. I mean, I'm assuming they're still on his bike. He's been riding them for a while now. And then other people who are getting onto that, like that can afford it. I mean, I don't think see the 15-year-old kid riding a carbon fiber rim, but like I said, if a company is reasonable and accurate with their like orders, then I don't know. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't stick around.
Absolutely. And, you know, I actually know of someone who is riding a set right now and doing some testing on them. And let me say, man, he is a badass rider, and he's been on the show before. I feel like I could probably say the name. I'm going to message him and ask him about it afterwards. So if it's bleeped out, that's why. But you know of Ratty Matty, I would assume. He's on a set.
He's riding them.
He's on a set of the Eclat carbon rims right now. And
Jeez,
dude, he's loving them. I was DMing him the other day about it, and he was saying that they're holding up. And for him to be riding them, that's badass, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the like, what's the word I'm looking for? The thing that it's going to hinge on is what happens if there's a failure. Because if someone like him has a failure, then if it's bad, it's gonna suck. And like, there's no getting around it if it is bad. But like, to the extent of what a failure is it could not be bad at all. And if it's not, then perfect. Like, then I think it'll be even better. Like, how many spokes do you got to blow out for it to really have a catastrophic failure? And one thing I will say about Alienation, being that they like make them currently, Zach does not continue forward with anything he doesn't believe in, or believe in like the integrity of. This dude is like, every time I talk to him on the phone, like about products, and I think I have like any kind of grasp on anything, he'll start talking about like in-depth stuff, and I'm like, what? I don't know what that means. So like, I've learned a lot from him, and he's been in the industry for so long that like he knows his stuff. And I feel like he wouldn't do anything that he did not feel extremely confident in.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really interesting to hear that Alienation kind of came out with the first ones there. And it makes sense, obviously. You know, I can't believe I didn't realize that. I feel so weird, because I'm like, I try to be the guy who's on top of this stuff, just like yourself, you know? But yeah. I guess some things slip through the cracks. But yeah, it's Zach obviously is, you know, he's a legend in his own, dude. Alienation has been around for a long time. They're a very trusted and big company that you know, they're coming out with awesome stuff all the time. So
right.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was definitely a lull there for a little while where like new stuff wasn't coming out as often. So like, this carbon rim kind of was right at the end of that, I feel, where he's starting to come out with more and more new stuff. And like, now there's so much stuff that is on order and coming out and already been announced. It's crazy. He told me like last year that 2020 was like the year of new products, and it's just continued. It's been like a freaking train just going. It's nuts, and everything is like really, really good. When I first saw the pedals, the foothold pedal, like I was like, man, that looks sweet. I'm already riding plastic pedals with metal pins. Like, now the company I ride for is going to make some. Like, I'm stoked on this. Then I get them, and it was like, holy crap. Because the ones I was riding was literally just a rebranded, like, pedal that it's the deity plastic pedal with metal pins, but with a different name on it. And I was riding it, and thought they were fine. And then I got onto these and I was like, whoa, like it was a really big difference. And you could feel it because it's such a big platform. It's concave, and they're designed to be that way. And just that thought is put into everything.
Dude, that's awesome. That's really rad, honestly. They're just to see that they're kind of like even coming out with this new coaster as well really shows just how they want to be, in the market. They want to be like a household name, and I would argue that they are, right? A lot of park riders.
There was a point in time. Yeah. Well, there was a point in time where Alienation rims were the rims on complete bikes. Like that was what it was. And then Alienation rims were like, they were definitely at the top of the rim game for quite a long time. And then that lull, I don't really know anything about it. It just it happened. And now they're coming back in full force, and there's a lot of people who are psyched on what they're doing, and their rims are they're great. Like I feel like sometimes I'm like a broken record, because when I talk about parts, it's like, this is literally my video that went up today, my favorite BMX pedals ever. Or I think that the Soundwave is the strongest frame in BMX and whatever. Like there's a lot of people who say that shit just because they're getting it for free, or just because they ride for a company. But I'm saying it because I've ridden for so long that I have assembled a bike of all of my favorite parts of all time. And then it just so happens that I wasn't affiliated with Sunday when I got my first Soundwave. Wasn't affiliated with Odyssey when I got their forks and all of this stuff. Like I find what I believe in, and then I try to get involved with that company, or I don't get involved with the company at all. Like if another company came to me that made frames, I'm not going to ride it, because I think the Soundwave is the best thing ever. And I don't care. I mean, you'd have to be offering some big money, and I'd be telling people that. I literally would be the guy who'd be like, I'm riding these because they offered me a huge paycheck.
Yeah.
Because that's the reality of it.
Dude, absolutely. And
it's integrity too.
Yeah. And I was going to mention too, just the fact that with your BMX reviews and, when it comes to parts, frames, anything that relates to, something you put on your bike, you are so honest and so true about the part itself. And if it's something that you don't believe in, you're going to like make sure that people realize that. And that's what I love, right? Like you're one of those people that essentially can't be bought, if that makes sense. Like, it's so true. And honestly, there's so many like awesome things that you've reviewed over the years. And there's a sprocket that I saw that you did, and it was really interesting. I can't remember the name of it or the company that it came from, but it's like a guarded sprocket in black, but the guard is like, it's
the M-line sprocket from Brotherhood BMX. Dude, I haven't reviewed it yet, but I put it on my bike. And the honesty thing and can't be bought thing, I feel like I take a lot of my inspiration with that. I mean, obviously it's part of my personality and stuff, but I take a lot of the inspiration with that, and I'm influenced a lot by Linus Tech Tips on YouTube and Marquez Brownlee, because they're both very honest people. And even Linus, when a graphics card company is doing something that they shouldn't be doing, even if they're giving him review units to talk about, like he's still calling out the truth and the bad parts of what people are doing. And I'm always like, my goal at a certain point in doing YouTube was I realized if I'm not getting paid by the industry and I'm not relying on industry money to live, then I have the opportunity to be that person who's being a voice of reason in a group of people who are literally posting a product, a catalog part, and saying it's the best thing ever, even though it's a catalog part that every single other company is making something just like. And And I feel like I've gotten to a point where I almost feel like it's my responsibility to call things out whenever I feel that there's something wrong that's happening, at least to a certain level of it.
Absolutely, dude. And it's really rad to hear that you take influence from Linus Tech Tips. He's a Canadian dude out in Vancouver, I believe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then Mark S. Brownlee. And something that I've really been thinking about a lot lately, and something that I've been putting a lot of effort into, is making a list on people that I'm inspired by and the people that I want to try and form my content to look like, right? Because in the future, there'll be more than just podcasts on here. There'll be a lot more of BMX stuff, but it is something that for yourself, how many other people make true and honest BMX reviews on parts, right? It's the names and like the people are very, very slim pickings, essentially. You're kind of pretty much the only guy doing it, which is rad. Like, and you do an awesome job of it.
And I feel like I accidentally got myself into a position where I can do that, because if you think about it, I mean, it's kind of understandable to an extent where, like, you got a pro rider who rides for a company. He's got to say that the stuff that he rides for is good, even if it sucks. Like, I can remember being at Interbike, hearing somebody talk about how great it was that they were on a certain company now, because now they don't have to lie about the frames they're riding because they're breaking one every 6 months because they're riding for a certain other company before. And that, that it's everywhere. Like, we know what's good and what's not good, being that we've ridden for a long time, and you get to a certain level, you're like, oh, avoid that company's parts. There's a reason that you go to a place like Rays and go into the park room where people are riding BMX, that more than half of the forks in there are R32s. Like, people know what is good and knows what's tried and true and tested. And I feel like there's just a lot of BS in there, but to an extent, you make $200 a month. You rely on that from 4 different companies to pay your rent. So you got to do what you got to do sometimes. And I feel like I accidentally got myself into this position by, first, I got a bike shop sponsor for a local bike shop, Brimstone Bicycles. And at that point, it's like, when you ride for a bike shop, you get to choose what you want rather than having to pick from a certain company's products. You kind of get to be more you get more options to pick from. So it was like, I ended up with the Soundwave and the R32. Had never heard of the Soundwave even before that. And then keeping it going, not riding for a frame company or hard parts, like more than rims, because Alienation was mainly making rims and a couple different sets of handlebars and a couple hubs, but they're not making cranks. They're not making forks. And so riding for a bike shop to where I don't have, I mean, you ride for a company, you're pretty much forced into brand loyalty because it's part of being a sponsored rider. As much as it sucks, we get it. And as much as I'll talk about saying the right things, like, I do understand the other side too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that we need more people like yourself in the world of BMX that are willing to give an honest, true review, because so many people are led down the path of like, oh, my favorite rider said that this is the best thing to ride. Meanwhile, that guy's getting a high paycheck, and that's the only reason that he's saying that, right? And it's
right, exactly.
And the thing is that people always I don't know. I've always found that, like, most people are really weird when it comes to YouTube and stuff within BMX, right? There's so many people that, like, look at anybody who does YouTube and BMX as, like, a sellout or anything like that. And I am, dude, I am the complete
you want
opposite.
to talk about that?
Bro, I could fucking go on, I'm sure. But
I've got yeah. Go ahead.
Dude, I was going to say, it's something that, like, I think we need more of. And the fact that you're taking money from bigger corporations, but you're able to put it back within BMX in a certain way, right? By giving people these true reviews where it's like, dude, I'm telling you, go and buy this. You're gonna love it. Instead of, oh yeah, make sure you get this because the company gave me a bunch of money. Like,
yeah,
it's just something that I think everybody knows in the back of their head, that, like, that person's getting paid to say that. But it's also like, I don't know, man. I think for you, who's able to make this money on their own, it says right there that you're able to give more honest reviews and just better videos in that way, if that makes sense.
1000%. Literally, you made the point that I make to a lot of people, and I actually had never even considered the fact of giving back to BMX in that Google pays me to make videos. I still don't like, just for transparency, I don't make enough money off of YouTube to cover all of my bills in a month yet. I'm not to that point yet, but Google still does. I make money, but I get that money from Google, and that in that I'm promoting BMX companies for other people to go and spend their money, and it's honest in that, which I had never made that connection, which is really cool to hear. But I don't know, it's going to be tough for us to get to that point in BMX, but the whole idea like of hating on people who do YouTube is kind of dying off more and more. The more YouTube blows up, and the more I think people might realize that they go home and watch someone who makes YouTube videos in a different category of the world, like cars or whatever it might be. Like, and it's all, BMX always needs that one thing to hate on. It was YouTube there for a while with Adam LZ, and hating on Adam LZ and YouTube and anyone who made YouTube videos, because we hate on Adam LZ, we hate you too. And on that, BMX missed a giant boat. They missed such a huge opportunity to where they could have realized what exactly you just said, getting paid from Google and then helping other people spend their money and put money into BMX. But instead, it was, let's hate on it because of this guy. And it was like a hate culture within BMX, when they could have been like, oh, wait a minute, we can use Google to make money, and then we don't have to rely as much on BMX companies and money from the industry to pay our bills. Like, that's the best way to do it. That's why I don't get why, I mean, to an extent, I don't get why people hate on Nigel. I think they don't as much anymore, because people like us talk like this and like, listen, Nigel's getting paid by giant companies enormous amounts of money to do what he's doing. Like,
dude, and I think it's unfortunate, but Brad Sims has even suffered some of the Nigel syndromes, if that makes any sense, where now people are starting to call him a sellout because he's riding for Adidas. You mean to tell me, dude, you mean to tell me that the guy who just won Rider of the Year twice, 2 times, in 1 year, is now like, oh yeah, he's a sellout, he's riding for a big clothing company? Dude, do you not see the opportunity, how big of an opportunity you get by bringing Adidas into BMX? Dude, they gotta be paying him big money, which is awesome. I love to see that. Dude, a success story like Brad is exactly what we need. Everybody knows the BMX riders get paid shit from BMX companies. Why do they ride for energy drink companies? Because they have a ton of money, right? It helps them pay for that. Dude, look at all of the stuff that Drew B has been able to do over the year, right? Over the years, sorry, with Uncontainable, you know, all of these big contests and whatnot, because Red Bull was there. A lot of these big contests are sponsored by companies who aren't directly involved with BMX. And it's just, dude, it makes me so upset, because it's like, everybody bitches about, you know, BMX riders not being paid enough. But then the second that a company picks up a guy who is, you know, of notice and actually will bring people in, it's a big deal. And I'm like, dude, let that guy get his money. Like, why are we so accepting of some of the best riders in the world who are throwing themselves down shit, literally risking their lives, making $500 a month from a company? Like, why is the top 1% getting paid that? Everybody always, like, you know, talks about how these retired riders will go on and then all of a sudden they're just done and then they're working a new daily job. I'm like, you mean to tell me the guy who has influenced a generation of riders is now not getting paid in BMX at all, and he's just looked at as like a great person? I don't know. In my opinion, dude, we got to give that guy everything that he deserves, and it's unfortunate that a lot of people don't see it that way.
You ready for my thoughts on sellouts?
Absolutely.
Or selling out?
Dude, please.
There are so many people who have the definition of selling out so wrong in the perspective in their head. You know what my definition of selling out is?
Please let me know.
Having a job you hate, working for a boss that you hate who would replace you in a second if you didn't come back just because you have to make money to pay your bills. Guess what? That having to make money to pay your bills it's like, we get that, but guess what? Doing something you hate because you have to is partially selling out too. You know what someone who's getting paid big money by Adidas or a big energy drink company is doing? They're living their dreams. That's not selling out. That's living your dreams.
Dude, you could not say it any better, honestly.
It's the truth.
Yeah,
and
dude.
And the fact that people will call somebody a sellout, like, to an extent, yeah, okay, we all have our lines. There's a line for everything. Like, there, if you're promoting, I don't know what it could be, but there are examples of things that I would see as someone being a sellout. But when we're talking about Adidas, or we're talking about someone like Nigel riding for, was it Mercedes or something? Like, not necessarily riding for them, but being a brand ambassador. Like, that's not selling out. That's not selling out at all.
Dude, and the thing that I've really learned this past year and that I've really been focusing on is the fact that your following is more valuable than money will ever be. You know, the audience and the engagement that you get from that is way more valuable, because guess what, dude? Nigel is getting a free fucking car from Mercedes just because he rides BMX and has a big following. Brad Sims is now on Adidas, and guess what? He's going to wear those tracksuits and he's going to get a paycheck from it. Because why? Because the dude has over 300,000 followers on Instagram who are all loyal to the guy. Go through his comments and they're all people that are like, dude, you're the best, you know? Like, it's...
You know what other people are doing?
They're sitting at work BMX, complaining about it.
No, I just made the realization that's going to make people go, oh, shit. There's people in BMX right now who are hating on people calling them sellouts while they're calling the parts that they break every couple months the best thing in BMX just so they can get that paycheck. You know what sounds like selling out to me? Calling shitty parts the best thing ever so you can get a paycheck because you're too proud to take money from a big corporation, or you have whatever elitist ideals that you do that make you feel like somebody's selling out for living their dreams. I was going to say, I hope this conversation is a turning point in things, and people,
I hope so.
There's a really important thing in life where you finally make a connection and a realization that, like, it's okay to be wrong and it's okay to change your mind. And it's okay to try and be better. There's so many people in the world. I'm not talking about BMX. There's so many people in the world who go to that job they hate, then work for the boss that they hate who would replace them, whatever. And then they go home and then they drink beer and then they go to bed and then they wake up and then they go to work and then they go home and they all do it and they go through the motions. They go through the motions. Then they're old and then they're like, oh, crap, now what?
Yeah,
now
absolutely.
I'm retired. And I got 15 years to live, and I'm too old to do anything that I really would have loved to do when I was young. There's so many people in the world, or in America, whatever, wherever they might be, that live like that. And as soon as you make the realization that you have the power to change things in your life if you work hard enough for it, and people like Gary Vee and all those guys online who are motivating people to do that are like making a huge difference in things. And I feel like through what I'm doing, I try to see all of those people online, like Linus Tech Tips and Marquez and Gary Vee and David Goggins and Joe Rogan and all of these people that I watch online. If I refresh my subscriptions, there's people in the fishing world I watch, John B, and all these other people that I watch on a daily basis. I feel like what I'm trying to do is combine everything that they're doing to try and, like, elevate myself so that if I'm trying to inspire people and teach people and give people the tools that they need to make the best decisions they possibly can, or learn how to ride better or anything like that, like I don't know if I'm doing all of those things. That's what I want to do, regardless of if it's making me money or if I got 25,000 subscribers or 25 million. I would be doing this, and I did do this for years for nothing when no one was watching.
Absolutely, man. And the point that I wanted to make a second ago was the fact that these people are getting paid this huge amount of money and then they're able to put it back into BMX in their own way, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's just funny to see how, so many people are so against that. I am the kind of person who wants to work for myself and wants to have something that I made personally, that I've done, myself, and that I can get paid from, an audience that I brought into something that I love so much. BMX has literally given me everything, and I want to give my life back to it, but I also need money to be able to do that. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's just something that I hope people understand.
Dude, I can't wait for one day. I've said so many times, and I'm just gonna keep saying it because of the law of attraction and all that stuff, where people say like say what you want to happen. I cannot wait for the day that I can post the flyer that says contest at Worcester Skate Park, where the Lip Lords videos are at. Pro prize purse 10 grand.
Dude, I love it.
And I'm flying any big name pro who wants to come because I got YouTube money to help make it happen. And I literally just can't wait. Like, this stuff that Breakless TV is doing is so cool to see. Austin Augie's Dawn of the Streets is awesome. Our BMX Clips on YouTube or Instagram now is doing their $100 a month giveaways or whatever. I mean, I don't know the specifics off the top of my head. You got USL BMX, who's now doing the same thing on there, giving away money on Instagram for things. And I just feel like the more I talk about this stuff, the more other people do it too. And because they can. And I just literally cannot wait to get to a point where I can be like, hey, guess what, guys? I'm out in LA. I'm at this skate park in Long Beach. And anybody who gets here in the next 2 hours or shows up at this time tomorrow is going to have a chance to win 5 grand.
Yeah, dude. And that's the thing where it's like, these opportunities only come with big corporations and big money from that, right? Like, you are going to be able to do that because you will be building your brand on YouTube to be able to do that.
That's the idea.
Without it, how are you supposed to do it? BMX companies don't have that money.
Haven't happened.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's just why things were so like dead there for a while. I feel is like, before COVID happened, the bicycle industry was not what it is now. Like,
Yeah.
bikes were not selling out like they are now, and it wasn't crazy like it is now. And I feel like people, I mean, even the Breakless TV thing, they're getting these sponsors so that they can put these events on. And it's not like it's just Dennis, throwing out $1,500 in his own money. Like, they're working with companies to make that happen. And I'm just psyched to see the mentality behind it all. And people are just like doing what it takes to make cool stuff happen. And I feel that the main reason that it is happening is because there's so many other people doing so many awesome things that it's creating, like, in a sense, it's like competition, but not competition, because it's not like they're like, what are they competing for, kind of, at the same time. And I think that it's just going to do nothing but lead to more great things.
Dude, absolutely, man. And something I wanted to mention about Breakless TV is that I love the fact that they're doing this kind of stuff, right? Even if they are giving the money to these big top name pros and not like individuals who could come and compete, gotta say that's probably an idea of theirs. They're probably going to make it happen at some point.
And if they don't, someone else might. Like, someone might see Breakless TV and be like, oh, that's awesome that they're giving Nathan Williams and Devin Smiley and DeMarcus Paul and all these big name riders the opportunity to win some more money. But like, I want to try and make that happen for somebody who no one's ever heard of before. And then that's when you got stuff like what our BMX Clips is, and the USL flat ground competition thing they're doing on Instagram is it gives everyone the opportunity. So if these things blow up more and more and more, and people see, and companies see more organizations, whatever you want to call like what Brakeless TV is, or our BMX Clips or USL, more of that happening, and they want to support it more, those numbers get bigger. And then you got, oh, we're giving away $100 for this, and this, all to 5 different people this month. And it's like, it does nothing but grow the BMX community, because then you got more people posting more stuff and getting more motivated. And that's just like it's like a tree branching out into the entire BMX community, all from these not small, these catalysts that started it all.
Absolutely, man. And not to be too full of myself, but guess who has been giving away money at their jams all the time for years, who takes it out of their own pocket? This fucking guy right here. Last year we gave away $400. Guess what, man? I'm not fucking rich. Like, I don't have that kind of money, but I do it because I love this community, and it gets people hyped, and it gets people, involved and whatnot. And my thing too is like, guess what? If I give some kid $50 because he did this massive handrail, he's most likely going to take that $50 and go spend it at the local bike shop, and then, put more money into the fucking industry. And like,
or he just doesn't have to worry about like, oh, where's my dinner coming from?
Exactly.
Like, something like that. Like, you're just supporting a person. Because that's at the end of the day, that's what everyone is. And I feel like these people who hate or talk down on anyone for anything are forgetting that the person or people they're talking about are people, just like everyone else. We're all people. And like, what the hell is the point of trying to bring down another person when all of these other great things are going on, trying to lift people up?
Dude, absolutely.
That's why I hate meme pages. like what the fuck is the point of a meme page other than to bring people down with jokes that are they're jokes, man. Don't take it so seriously. These jokes don't come from nowhere. They come from real thoughts in your head, and it's just it breeds more and more people who think like that. And I guess to an extent, sometimes we need that self-policing in things just to like kind of keep people in check. But like, who the fuck do you think you are, feeling like you have the power, or you're the person who gets to police people or keep people in check?
Dude, you make a really good point. And back, it's got to be 70 episodes ago, we had Dustin, not Justin, aka Rodeo Peanut, for you guys who maybe don't know, and we had a long discussion about Rodeo Peanut and kind of the effects of it for him as someone who, would be constantly thinking about like, how can I, police this person, essentially, basically exactly what you're saying, right? And it honestly led to Dustin not being that stoked on what he was doing. He kind of got into a depression because of it.
Dude,
and
think about what you just said.
Yeah.
Think about a person who's running that meme page. Your entire mindset becomes about that. That is what you think about, because you're thinking, what's my next thing? Or you're looking out for that next thing that you can post and make that joke about somebody. Like, think about how shitty that is. That's just awful when your entire brain, like, that's where your mind is always going, so you can get that next thing. It's like, yeah, I don't know.
No, dude, you make a really good point, honestly. Like, it is something that we do see quite a few meme pages in BMX nowadays, and some of them I do like for the lighthearted jokes, and then other ones I just kind of look at it and I'm like, ugh, really? Like,
yeah,
it's just,
some of it is funny, like, for sure.
Yeah,
so there's a lot of like funny things that go down, and then when it's like about somebody who's like laughing at themselves in it too, and it's not like anything serious, but there's some like serious stuff that gets put out there that like it's just unnecessary, and it's just creating more and more bad stuff. And then through that, you're teaching kids that it's okay to go to the skate park and say jokes like that to somebody else, because they aren't to that point yet where they recognize the fact that this is you just making a joke about somebody that you might know, because everybody in those positions knows each other. Like, the kids that you are putting this out in front of don't know that yet. They don't recognize that yet. So you're essentially showing people it's okay to be a bully.
Absolutely, man. And I don't want to dive too deep into it, but when you see a page, go and write all this terrible shit and just be like, kind of pushing this narrative about somebody who is hosting one of the biggest jams in the world, one of the biggest jams that has brought in people from all over, it gets a little weird, man, no matter what
It's
your thoughts are.
jokes. Hey,
Yeah.
dude, it's jokes, man. Jokes are like butterflies. Let them
Yeah.
fly free.
Yeah, there's I don't know, man. Some of it I like, some of it I'm not a big fan of. Like, one of the things that I laughed my ass off about the other day was a post from Team Weed where it's James Lawrence from early 2000s BMX. James, how's it going, dude? I love you, man. It's him, and then there's just a dude with like a weed nug in his nose, and like it's just the funniest thing ever. I don't know why. It's literally just James as if he's like doing an Instagram interview, and that dude underneath.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't make the connection that it was supposed to be like one of his interviews.
Yeah, it
and
looks
the
like that
person
at least.
underneath.
Yeah.
That's funny. And that's the thing too, is like I recognize that there's both sides of things, and like hopefully nobody just shut it off at that point and doesn't hear the whole entire conversation, because I recognize the fact that in life even you need both sides of things. And if BMX was just this unicorns and rainbows, yay everything thing, then it would turn into something lame potentially. And I get it. I get it. But there's just like a certain line that I feel like gets crossed, and there's a certain level of hating that's, I don't know. I don't feel like it's needed.
Yeah, dude, you make really good points on that, honestly. Brant, this has been incredible. I gotta say, we're almost at 2 hours here. I don't know how you're feeling. I'm feeling great. If you want to continue, we can keep
I
doing
feel
that.
like we just skipped all of your questions to talk about
Dude,
other things.
I will be completely honest with you. I wrote about 40 questions, very well researched questions, and I think we've done about 5 of them.
Well,
So,
hit me with some questions. Let's see how many we can get.
alrighty, let's do some ones here. So, to jump back onto YouTube here for you, one of my favorite things that you do on your channel is the weekly BMX news segment, where you
Mhm.
give updates on BMX news and just everything that's kind of happening in the industry. So, when did you first come up with this? And something that I would be really interested in hearing about is what's the prep like? Like, what goes
Okay.
into this?
So I'm going to do this as fast as I possibly can because I want to hit as many questions as we can. The news thing came. So there was a channel on YouTube with a guy named Colin. It was literally called the BMX News Channel. And then I talked to him online. We were online buddies, and he would make kind of tutorial videos and things like that. And he came out to the trails one time that I dig at, and he rode, and it was cool and everything. And he would do a news video, but it was like kind of inconsistent. And then it just kind of like died off for a long period of time. And I got to a point where I was like, once again, thinking like, what is something I can do that's like on a weekly basis that doesn't require me to ride more than I actually can ride? And the news thing was that one of those ideas that popped up, and I was like, well, that's easy enough to make, and I know how to do it, and I have the stuff to do it. So I started doing that. I felt like enough time had went by that I wouldn't be stepping on his toes in doing that. And so I started that, and that was like 3 or 4 years ago at this point. I mean, if I look at the playlist, the first video was, it has to be. I mean, there's 174 videos in there. That's more than 3 years.
Yeah.
So I started doing those actually right here, 12, 15, 17.
Whoa.
Damn. That's crazy. So I started doing those, and my prep for it at that time was I would make the list of all of the stuff I wanted to talk about the night before or the morning of, and then I would literally watch all of the videos and make notes for every single thing before I talked about it. And then I would have those notes, like this camera right here is right above where I put my camera. I would literally put it right beside there, and I would halfway read, halfway talk. And then one day, I don't remember what made me change it or what made me realize it, but I figured out if I just watched the video right before I talk about it, then I can just say almost the same thing without having to take all of this extra time to make the notes and then try to read it and try and end up mad because I can't read what I'm trying to say, like, because I would get frustrated at that. So that's how I do them now. The morning of, sometimes the night before, I'll make the whole list of everything that's going to be in it. I take the screenshots, and then I just go through and watch what I think I want to watch and kind of gauge it based on how long it took to like say for that clip or whatever I was talking about. And that's how I do that now.
Dude, that's wicked. It's honestly a lot of work. And for me, when I first started doing this show and I would have guests in the studio with me, we would always do like a BMX news segment at the beginning. And I really enjoyed doing that because it would make me more involved within the world of BMX, because I would actually have to go and watch edits and figure out what I want to kind of promote that week, you know, and talk about.
Yeah.
And it's something that I kind of miss doing, but I also really enjoy being able to just hop right into things with the guests that we're having on. And yeah, it's really interesting. You know, it's been working out pretty good this way, but I do miss it. And I love being able to tune into yours. You've always got something awesome to talk about, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of work, but the payoff for it, I mean, there's a lot of times where I get really frustrated because I'm so tough on myself and I want to say things smoothly and I want to get the longest possible amount of time without having to make a cut that I can. So I'll redo things a lot. I mean, there's times where it takes me a long time even just to film it. But in the end, it is worth it. And I feel like there's a lot of things that I've talked about in the news video and issues that have come up and things that I've talked about that I feel like it's like weird how fast I feel like I notice a change or I notice something happen right after I talk about it. And it's almost like weird.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of what you were mentioning there a second ago with just, you know, having a hard time speaking in front of the camera sometimes. I get that all the time, dude. And what's funny is that it's never when I'm recording the show with someone, right? Like during this whole time, I'm only going to go through and cut out some of the things that I'm like, oh, maybe shouldn't have said that, you know? But when it comes to like actually recording the intro sometimes, I mess up a lot and I'll just have to sit there and like redo it, right? Like if I'm doing a shout out to someone or, you know, trying to talk about something that's been going on, I always end up screwing it up. And it's funny because it's like this whole recording will basically be one. I won't really have to chop too much, but then the beginning of it will be like every 3 seconds I got to chop and like place. It's funny.
It just shows how much you care. That's all.
Absolutely.
It is.
Yeah.
If you care about it, then you like are more critical about it. I definitely would like to get to a point where I could just go with it because I recognize and I've already realized like when I'm editing, I'm jump cutting, even if I don't have a pause in there or even if I don't have to like cut where I like mess up, I'll still have a cut because I'm cutting out my breath or something like that. So I recognize like it doesn't even matter. Like that I'm redoing it. I could have used the first take because it's going to end up the exact same thing anyways, but I still redo it. And I think it's just part of showing that you care.
Dude, absolutely. Even last week with my podcast with Ralph and Martin from Animal, dude, yeah. I literally spent so long just chopping in between because we were doing it through a phone call and it was kind of awkward where it would be like 2 seconds and then they would talk, right? I would talk 2 seconds and then they would talk. I literally had to go through and chop each and every single one of that. And it took a long time, but it was worth it, right? It's something that I care about. I wouldn't want to put that out just as
is. Exactly. Next question.
Alrighty. So the next one here is you also film a lot of your riding sessions and upload them. And I wanted to know, has that helped you become a better rider? Have you felt that like because the camera is on, the pressure is there and you need to perform?
No, not at all, because I have legitimately been filming from the very beginning. Like it was like every time I rode, if I was doing something new, I was filming it. I just had a little point and shoot camera set up and I was filming it because I was making videos. I've literally made videos since 2000, the end of 2006. Like
Wow, that's
I've
wild to
been,
think about.
yeah, it's pretty nuts whenever I think about how much there is. And I still have like almost all of the original footage for all of that stuff too. So like it's not really pressure at all. The only time I feel pressure is like when I have to leave, like, and I'm in the middle of trying something or situations like that, or like it's a street riding situation where I like you want to land as fast as you can so you can get out of there. But yeah, I mean, it's an extension of what I've always done. Maybe it's not necessarily that I'm filming something new these days, but it's just kind of the same as forever.
Definitely. I've honestly had a really hard time trying to film like vlog style videos of me riding only because I feel as if I need to become a better rider first, but realistically I should just show the journey there. And it's not that I'm not a talented rider. Like I've filmed 2 DVD parts, and my last DVD part in Space Goats I felt so happy about. Like everything in there was
Mhm.
awesome. I didn't really have anything that I was too disappointed about. So it
Yeah.
is like I'm a talented rider. I know that. I'm not like, crappy by any means, but I really want to get into the habit of going out and filming, like learning new tricks, because I think that would really help in this weird stagnant vibe that I'm in where I feel like I haven't learned anything new in quite a while.
I will say that the camera definitely helps with the situations like that because it gives you like even more of a goal than just the trick. Like you're filming it, so you're like, oh, like I'm gonna get to see it, and it's more motivation, I guess. There's situations like where I'll show up to the skate park and there's nobody there, and I'm like, well, crap, like this kind of sucks. But then you start filming a video and immediately it's just like, oh, I'm going to do this. Now I'm going to do this. And it just goes and goes and goes. Because when I'm filming a video, it's not like the people who go out there and like, all right, guys, we're going to do this today and this and whatever. It's like, no, I'm just going to the skate park and filming whatever happens. So if nobody's there, I'm just like, all right, I feel like doing this. And then I try something that brings up another idea and it just keeps moving and moving and it's all in the session keeps moving forward and I end up having a good time because I was filming and it gave me something to do, really.
I'm going to try that, man. Honestly, I think within the next month, you're going to see me learn how to bar spin because I've never been able to do them. I can tail whip, I can do all this stuff, but I've never been able to do them, and I've never had the motivation to actually sit there and try it. But I bet you that if I put the camera out and I set a goal, I could probably make it happen.
And the advice I'll give you in that, if you're trying to make like a vlog style video from it, is just to update, like if you're going to talk to the camera or if you're having a thought about the trick or something like that, tell it to the camera. If something happens and and just in general, if something specific happens and you're having this thought like, oh, I need to do this to try this and make it work better. If you tell that to the camera, you're bringing them along with your journey and the whole thing, no matter what type of video you're making. If you're making a movie, you're making a vlog, you're making a documentary, whatever, you're telling a story. And if you bring the people into the story from the beginning, rather than just try after try after try, it makes for something that you can watch no matter what.
Absolutely, dude. I think you've got it spot on there. That's kind of what I was thinking about doing with it anyways. So, yeah,
Boom.
dude, that's awesome.
Next
Now,
question.
yeah,
5 minutes.
dude, my next question for YouTube here is what are your tips to stay motivated and not feel burnt out? I feel like doing daily videos has got to have its challenges to it, you know?
Fine. Okay, here we go. This is my Gary V. I'm gonna summon my inner Gary V. No, it's literally the first thought that came to my mind right now because when you said burnt out, like I've never been burnt out on YouTube. I've
Dude.
uploaded pretty much on a daily basis. I have almost 2,000 videos on YouTube. And I've uploaded pretty much on a daily basis for the past few years now. I've never been burnt out, because I'm making videos about something that I genuinely love and passionate about and am obsessed with. So if BMX isn't that thing for you, then you're not going to find like that you truly are motivated to do it enough to upload daily or upload consistently. And so my advice is just find what you are obsessed with and what you're passionate about and make videos about that. Even if it's not BMX and you want it to be about BMX, put BMX in there with it. Find a way to combine the two and then make it that way, because it'll be that much more easy to actually do it. Because if you're not obsessed, you're not motivated, and that's all there is really to it.
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome. As I kind of mentioned earlier, you know, I've done a few full-length videos of my own, and recently we saw your full-length project, No Promises, release. And
Yep.
As someone who has put in so much work and so much effort, you know, my last video, I spent 3 years filming, dedicated to it, knowing that it was going to be a full-length video. And then to kind of understand and put into perspective how much work I put into it, in between each video part was a small, either 1 minute to 2 minute long animation of these goats in space, like talking to each other. It's just supposed to be like a weird storyline in between it, because I wanted to do something so different and unique to myself, right?
Yeah.
And dude, just to see how much work and effort is put into it is so much. So I kind of wanted to know, you know, what was it like making No Promises, and what was the idea behind it, and kind of, you know, where did it all come from?
I'm glad I get to talk about this on the internet finally.
Dude, I'm the guy that loves to talk about full-length videos, so, you know, this is perfect. I really want to hear about this.
So it all started when no, my buddy Brian, he moved here from Indiana or something like that. He worked on the railroad and they brought him out here, and we were filming like a lot of stuff, filming edits, all of these things. And he said he wanted to make an edit. So we started filming stuff. And then through this process, I'm filming him, I'm filming a couple other people, whatever. And I'm like, why don't we just save this and make it like put it all together and make something longer, because edits get crap for views these days anyways. So like it's going to end up online no matter what. So let's just save it, make a full-length video, and then it'll be on the internet eventually anyways. So like it didn't start out meant to be a full length, but I was filming people, and like because I've always filmed, you know, like it just ended up being one of those things where I was like, all right, let's just make it a full length now. And so we did, and it took a lot longer than it should have, I'll give it that. But like when you upload to YouTube every single day, like it's a lot of work. And then it finally got to the point where I made a list, which is this list right here. I'll pull it down and then put it back up. I made this list. It was my just do it list. And at the top of it, full length, edit it. Because at that time I had his section edited and mine. And they were both done for like probably a year or two before the full thing came out. And with that, I put my head down, started editing parts. There was like 3 different days where I started and edited the entire day up until like 3 o'clock in the morning. Got it to a point where it was done and premiered it in my local movie theater, and that's what it was.
Dude, that is so wild to hear about. And like doing a premiere is one of those big moments that I feel like anybody who's ever made a full-length video knows. If they've done a premiere, they know just how amazing it feels to actually be able to put that on a big screen and show it to everybody, right? And
it was a smile from the beginning of the video to the end of the video that would not leave my face.
Dude, so to talk a little bit about my premiere and kind of what went down there, and then we'll jump into yours, because I know that the Rays mountain bike one was a catastrophe in its own, but it pulled off perfectly. So, with my premiere, we booked this place, and the whole time I had let them know, I'm like, I'm gonna have a couple bands play afterwards, and it's gonna get loud, like it's gonna get rowdy. BMX dudes are they want to have fun, they want to mess around or whatever. And they were totally cool with it, whatever, right? So we get there, we start setting up for the night, and way more people than I ever thought would come show up. And then, we're having all these issues with the audio. Video doesn't start for it's 15 minutes late. There's no audio. I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Like, I had no plans on how to fix this. Finally, I get it working. So we show the video. It didn't even matter. I didn't need the audio because everybody was like yelling and screaming the whole time because they were so stoked on it,
Yeah.
Which is interesting to think about. And then the end comes around and, we're supposed to have these bands play. Everybody's having a good time. And the owners of the venue were not stoked on how loud these guys were playing and how rowdy it got, right? Like full on mosh pit. They booted us out of there real fast, which was unfortunate, but what do you do, man? It was memories forever right off of that. Awesome. I'm very thankful for the fact that I only had one issue and that it had to do with audio. So let's talk about, what kind of happened with yours within Rays Mountain Bike, because I know that you did it at the movie theater and that you had planned to do one like 10 years earlier at that same movie theater, right?
Yeah, I'll go through that super fast and then get to the Rays part. So like in 2009 or 10, I made a full-length video, not even once again, not really knowing what I was doing. I just was filming everyone all the time. And I was 16 years old. And I'm like, well, I'll just make a full-length video, not even really knowing what a full-length video was, because I'd never watched anything or anything like that. Because growing up riding, it's going to sound weird for anyone who hasn't heard it, but I didn't watch that many videos. I didn't watch any full length videos at all. So I made that, and I hit them. I emailed the movie theater, inquiring about playing my video at the theater for my 16th birthday party. I think it was either that or 17th birthday. I can't remember. And then they emailed me back once, and then I replied again, and they never responded to me after that. And then almost exactly 10 years later, I actually hit up the theater again, and they told me there's a way you can do that. You go through the website, whatever. All that went through, and it all happened without a hitch. The lady needed to approve my video. She didn't even need to see the whole thing. She's just like, well, if you could just put a couple minutes together of what it's going to be, and then that's all I need. So she approved it then, and it was like, what the hell? And the whole movie theater thing went off without a hitch. It was all perfect. Could not have been better. And then the whole Rays thing went down. And that was the most stressful day of my entire life.
So to talk a little bit about Rays and kind of what happened there, just to give it a bit of an intro, you're doing it at Rays Mountain Bike Park, big place, lots of people are going to come in. It's a great opportunity to show something you've worked so hard on, right?
Yeah.
And then, you bring everything that you got. And first of all, a tree breaks in front of you on the highway. So
literally, this tree, it's a big tree. It fell into the road and was probably, I'm not exaggerating here, 5 feet or less from hitting the car that was in front of me that was already past it. And it was 50 to 75 feet in front of me, falling into the road with enough time for me to film it and stop safely, totally, it was a stop sign, basically.
Yeah. Dude, it's so wild to think about that. And then finally you guys get there through the torrential downpour in Ohio.
And 50-mile-an-hour winds.
50-mile-an-hour
Literally,
winds.
not exaggerating. That was 40 or 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts.
Oh my God. So you guys get there, you start setting up. All of a sudden, you notice the worst thing ever that could happen to anybody in this predicament. The cord that you need for your projector to connect to your laptop is gone. It's missing.
An hour away at home. I forgot it. Didn't even put it in the bag.
So what do? You do what the smart person does. You run out to Walmart, closed because power outage.
Power's out because of 40, 50 mile an hour wind gusts.
So then you drive over to Best Buy. Oh, well, you're looking around. They don't really have the part that you need. So
We
you
skipped a part.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
We skipped a part though.
Yeah.
On the way from Walmart to Best Buy, I hit a semi-truck mud flap that lodges itself under my car. So I'm pulling into Best Buy and my car's going kunk, 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 like I had a flat tire, which I thought was flat tire at the time. Pull in, recognize what's going on and try to pull it out, and it wouldn't come out. So I just kept going, and then it ended up pulling itself out. Pull it into Best Buy. We get to the point where you're saying I run inside, go to one side of the store. This is what I need. Sweet. Oh, wait a minute. This isn't what I need. I'm wrong. Other side of the store. Don't have it. And then we get to where you are.
So then you go through all of that and you're just like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to buy another projector because what else am I going to do in this predicament? Which, dude, after that, it seemed like it kind of went off without, without any other struggles. Is that the case?
Yes, it definitely did. Other than I wish I would have done it in the grind room behind where I did it, just because it wasn't as dark as it could have been. But once we were there with the projector, it didn't seem like too many people left, and everything went all right.
That's awesome, man. For me personally, I literally just like, I had asked around at these places that rent them out, like projectors. And I was like, hey, what's the deal? Like, how much is it? And all these places were like, yeah, it's like $180. And I was like, seriously? And then I had no idea how much projectors cost. So I just hop on Amazon. I'm like, oh, I can buy one for like $100.
Yep.
Okay. Like, never mind. I don't need your help. Like, I don't need to deal with this. I'm just going to do this instead. And it worked out way better. Like,
yeah,
I rarely use it, but it's right behind me and it gets used whenever I have a guest in the studio because I can just play a looping animation behind them on the roof. Like, it looks great.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is like the guy came out of the back room with a projector and I was on my way to the front. I was like, 50 inches? What? No, that's not big enough.
Yeah.
So I ran back in there and bought the more expensive one to make sure that it would be all right. But yeah, I don't know.
Did you do the old try and return, or did you hang on to that?
Return it. There was no try. I took it to my local Best Buy and returned that thing.
I love it, dude. That's awesome. From that, anyways, let's talk a little bit about why you chose to go with DVD instead of doing a digital download in 2021, right? It's something that even with the sales from my first video and the sales from the second one, I saw a decline in the second one, but I probably could have sold the same amount. I sold them faster, but I didn't order more of them because the demand wasn't high enough. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's one of those things that, like, doing a DVD, it costs money. It costs money to produce it, but it's also like one of those things that I've always been a person who loves to be able to hold something in their hand, right? And it's so personal and so, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I guess it was just never a thought in my mind, honestly. I mean, I put it out there, like, if you're in some other country, I'll send you a download link so that we don't have to pay like crazy shipping, which a few people did actually do.
Yeah.
So there was that, but like, I don't know, it was just never a thought in my mind to have it only a digital download and not a DVD.
Yeah, and it's something that I think it's difficult, especially when you get into the logistics of like licensing music and whatnot, and with you being an online creator, who knows where that might go, right? If you're going to get any trouble with that. But yeah, I was wondering, do you still have any copies of the video left that I could potentially purchase?
If not, I'll make one.
There we go.
Wait, right here. Sweet. There's actually one sitting on my desk right now. You could have number 70.
Dude, down. I would love it. I'm kind of sad that it's not 69, but that's okay.
Well, see, the thing about 69 is that our riding group, I can't reach it, whatever. The group of people, because my zip code ends in 691, and the group of people that came before me made like a group of guys that called themselves 691.
Yeah.
So I made 69, 69.1.
Oh, I love it. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah. So that one's staying with me forever. That and number 1.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. I'm the same way. I have every product that I've made and numbered, for number 1, I keep it. It's one of those things that everybody always asks, can I get number 1? But sorry about her, dude. You can get number 2.
Yep.
Oh man.
Heck yeah. Next question.
Yeah. So moving on from that, I don't know how long it took, but if I had to estimate, it was about, 3 years worth of footage with some footage leaning back about 10 years, correct?
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. I mean, the majority of it was 2 years and before that, like a year, I'll say a year, and then the 3 or 4 years before that.
Now, I was going to say, the dude at the very end, Brian, his video part is insane, dude. I don't understand how this guy hasn't been picked up by a major company. He's just going to go from the balcony into the pump track, like hop over a railing that is normal railing height, certified railing height, just hop right in. Dude, blows my mind. So how long did you guys work on his video part for, and what was some of the craziest stuff to film with him? Obviously the hop in and then the 180 over the fence out of the pump track is nuts. He had a full-on session, dude.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Brian is it was gnarly, but it wasn't gnarly at the same time, because I knew he was fully capable of it, and I had no doubt in my mind that all he had to do was commit to whatever he was trying and he was going to be fine. But when he's falling off of that railing because he's 180ing up and grabbing the railing and hanging onto it, and his bike's hitting the ground, you're just like, oh my, this is real. And it's just he's just a normal dude. He worked for the railroad, made a bunch of makes a bunch of money working for the railroad. He loves riding his bike and he's amazing at it. I don't know, I don't know if he ever cared about any of the company stuff. He just his main thing that he told me is this is it. I'm never going to be in this situation again where I'm I live by somebody who films and I can really go in on something. This is it. So he really wanted to intentionally really push himself and do some crazy stuff. Right there in the background, he grabbed the railing as his bike fell and he's like, oh my god.
Dude, mission accomplished, right? He is unreal. And what I love about him is that he's one of those full send kind of guys, but he also has such a unique style and flow to him as well, right? His whole video part is really sick.
It was funny though, because when he first moved here and we started to ride a lot, there was one day where he was like, do you guys ever have a chill session? And I was like, what's that? And I think through riding with us, it's just because we're always just doing whatever comes to mind, no matter how crazy it is. And I think just through that, he kind of, I don't know, he tapped some untapped stuff that he had going on in there and just really took it to the next level through being motivated to make this video, I guess.
Dude, absolutely. So, to talk a little bit about No Promises, your part in No Promises was incredible as well. Did you put a lot of pressure on yourself to hold up to the other riders within the video? For myself personally, in Space Goats, everybody was just so good that I was riding with, where I felt that if I didn't, hold my own, then I don't deserve a part in the video, even though it's my video, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And that's not how it was for me at all, because I am always filming. Literally my section in the video was it if No Promises wasn't a thing, that would be an edit that was online, right, as its own thing, because it it came from Brian wanting to film his video, and I had been filming edits and like noticed that like the one edit I made, it got over 10,000 views. Then the next one was like 6,000. Then the next one after that was like 2 or 3,000. It was like, these things are just dying off anyways. Why don't we put our stuff together to make something longer that's just cooler, that's going to be online anyways? So it was like, it was more or less just everything in my part is stuff that I filmed because I wanted to do it, and not because I was like, oh, I want to film this for a video or for a DVD. It was like, I want to do this and I'm going to film it because that's what I do.
Absolutely, man. I'm going to play your video part in a minute here. We are currently looking at these last clips. Yeah, these are incredible, man. That 180 up makes zero sense. The wall is so close, right? Like the rail.
Yeah. Right here, you can see it.
Yeah.
Like
how he didn't hit his front wheel is ridiculous.
Dude, and seeing this part play at the end of the video on a movie screen was just like, it's so rewarding to like see it. And I'm sure it felt good for him too, to see it on there. It was like, dude, we did it. Like, it's real. It happened.
Dude, absolutely. Yeah, anyways, man, what are kind of the favorite parts of No Promises for you? What did you learn along the path?
Oh, you mean like, I thought you meant like video parts.
Oh, dude, all of them are great, but yeah.
Well, because it was approached so casually and not as much like a video that like normally, and I feel like there's a really big difference between like the things I do and what like people who are like in the industry are doing, because like I feel like there's a lot of, we do this because we're pro riders and we got to make videos to rep our sponsors and stuff, whereas like it's just what I've always done. So it's so casual to me, and it's like I would be doing it regardless of anything else. I'm not doing it for any other reason than I want to. So like, more or less, No Promises is just a documentation of the stuff that the people I was riding with at any given time they were doing at that time, that I was psyched enough on to pull out my camera.
Hell yeah, dude.
So it's like all of it, I guess you could say, because it was just all, it's pretty much just the documentation of a certain time period in my life of riding, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and I think what's so important about these full-length projects, even if nobody watches them, it's still something that you have to look back on, where it's not just 3 minutes of something. You can literally sit down on the couch and just watch for, you know, half an hour or an hour, however long it is, and really just think back on those moments, right? Like, whereas with an edit, right? Like, I don't know, it's weird to equate it to this, but like an edit, you sit in your on your computer chair to watch, whereas with a full length, you actually go, you order a pizza, you sit down, you enjoy it, you are there for the entire experience. And I think that's what's played a big role in myself and why I like doing long form content.
Yeah, and I can see where you're coming from with that for sure. And actually, part of why I make videos on YouTube and stuff is actually with that, because I've had a lot of people, friends, other people, whatever, who've told me like, oh, I went back and watched that video from when we had this session on this day. And it was like, well, damn, like it's part of what drives me to film certain things, because if I didn't film that, all that this person would have is the memory of it. But because I film it all and edit it all and put it online, they can go back and relive it, and they get to relive things the same way that I like. That's why I filmed from the start, is because I know how crappy memory is. And like, you're never going to remember everything, and you're never going to remember things the way like you're never going to remember all of it. But if you film stuff, you can go back and watch things and relive it. And that's literally the whole purpose of all of it. And so that's kind of why I do the whole YouTube thing, and like why I even feel a responsibility and towards filming jams and contests locally here, and why I try to go to every single one I can and film every single one I can, because if I don't do it, who else is going to? And through the years, the answer to that has been maybe a guy here or there, but for the most part, no one. And I don't know, it almost feels like I feel a responsibility in myself knowing that I have the ability to do it. I don't care if I don't get to ride at a jam and I don't get to do whatever I feel like doing in front of somebody else, because I know I can go back and I don't need a group of people to do the craziest thing I've ever done. I can do it by myself and film it by myself. So like I have no problems not riding at all at a jam and filming the entire thing just for the sake of it being documented for other people to watch one day.
Hell yeah, man. That's honestly really rad. Everything you kind of mentioned there is super important for anybody who, does film their own stuff. Like it's I don't know, dude. I've always kind of felt a similar way where like it's important to be able to look back. And yes, you have memory and you have all of that. And there's so many people out there that always say, just put down the camera. But like, why? Like, why would I want to put that down, right? Like, I know it's a weird, grim thing to think about, but what if I was in a car accident in a month from now and I lost all memory? How am I going to know what I used to do, right? How am I going to try and regain that? Like,
Yeah.
it's a
And
ridiculous, way out there thought, but it's also something that kind of plays into that.
well, and the way I think about stuff like that, and when people say things like that too, is like, if, I mean, it sounds like for you, filming things is like part of who you are too. And anytime anyone says anything that goes against like who you are, I don't understand it. Like, I don't understand how, like, I get comments all the time, which I think they're funny when people talk about like my hair or my handlebars or something like that. I think they're funny, but I also think at the same time, like, I don't understand how someone could think in their mind and be in their right mind and think my views on your hair or your handlebars are more important than your own whenever you're living with them every day. So I feel like I should tell you to change that. Put down the camera, whatever, because I feel like what I want you to do is more important than what you want to do in your life. And like, I can't fathom how someone can feel that way or feel that their point of view or thoughts are so important that they should affect your life about anything.
And what's interesting too is like you really think about it in this kind of way where BMX and skateboarding and any kind of action sport, we always praise each other for saying like, oh, we don't care where your background is, where you come from. We don't care about the way you dress or anything like that. But when you see someone who does YouTube videos like yourself, you kind of see that that's not always the case, right? Like
It's not the case at all.
Yeah.
We don't care. We don't care. This is the fucking truth here. And I don't care if anybody's mad about it, because if you're mad about it, it's about you. We don't care who you are, where you come from, what you do, what you look like, what you wear, what you dress like, what parts you ride on your bike, what tricks you do, what you like to do, whether or not you got brakes, 4 pegs, 2 pegs, 3 pegs, 2-piece, 4-piece bars. We don't care about that as long as we think you're cool.
Exactly.
As long as you're my friend, we don't care about that. But if you're not, if we don't know you, guess what? We're just as judgmental as the rest of the world.
Dude. That's a fucking highlight clip right there. God damn, dude.
Truth.
It is. Dude, that is so true. And I've been feeling that a lot lately. And it's nothing against anybody who does think that, but it is like, it's something that I've noticed, right? It's something that like, I honestly love sitting down with people like yourself who are just so into BMX and so motivated. And I know this is going to sound weird, but like I would compare us to like BMX nerds, right? Like me, you, Montana, Ricky, any of these dudes who are just so involved in the scene and so involved in like what goes on. And then you talk to like the average person and like, it's so different, right? Like I guarantee there's so many people that look at like, just everything way different than we do. And I don't know, I don't like it. I think BMX is supposed to be the thing where people just go into it at any point, right? Like it should be the thing where we don't care about like, age, race, money, status, anything like that, even gender, right? Like we've seen quite a few female riders get into riding in the last few years, but dude, they've had a hard time. Like I've talked to quite a few people about this, and it's something that is still, really difficult. Like,
It's yeah, and it to add to what I said before, we don't care about any of those things as long as you're not doing something that isn't as long as you're not doing anything that goes against the grain.
yeah,
As long as you're doing anything that we deem cool and we deem acceptable, we don't care about anything. But the second that somebody does something that's outside of the realm of acceptable or cool or questionable whatsoever, it's like it's all hell is broken loose. And I will say though that it's a lot better than it was
absolutely.
5, 6 years ago,
Yeah.
whatever. It's definitely a lot better than it was. And I think it's because of conversations like this and people watching people like Joe Rogan. I guarantee there's a lot of people who've watched Joe Rogan specifically who have changed their mindsets on things because guess who's against exactly what I'm talking about? Joe Rogan is, and he's got a lot. He makes a lot of sense in the things he says, and he has on a lot of very down to earth, smart people who are. I don't want to say influencers because I hate that word, but who are influential.
Yeah,
We're just
absolutely.
genuinely like at a whole nother level of person.
Dude, it's kind of funny to think about, and this kind of goes off of what you were saying there, but there is actually a difference between influential people and influencers, right? It's yeah,
1000%.
it's
That's why
funny
I
to
hate
think
the
about.
word.
That's the thing, right? Like it sucks that they kind of stole that word from these influential people who like, do so much within their community and it kind of means like this other thing completely, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's wild to think about. But dude, Joe is a great example of that. You make a really good point on that. And
Sometimes I like somebody said it before. They like said I'm like the Joe Rogan of BMX, and sometimes like I feel like I like gotta run with that. Like I feel like because of just how inspirational of a dude he is, and how like he openly admits like yeah I'm an idiot, but I just like to talk about things and I'm curious and I'm always open to changing my mind about things. Like I don't know, there's something to it.
absolutely, dude. It's funny because anytime that somebody finds out that I have a podcast, right? Like anytime that happens, it's like, oh, like Joe Rogan. Like,
Yeah,
well, I mean, kind of, like not really, but kind of. It's funny.
yeah, that is funny.
Yeah.
So what's the next question here?
So we have some stuff about sponsors, and then
Oh,
yeah, I really wanted to talk about that. Obviously, we just saw your welcome to Stacked BMX video part and the news
hell
that you are
yeah.
now on Stacked BMX. So I think somebody posted it, and it was really funny. But this Ohio BMX rider is now sponsored by California BMX Shop. How did that happen?
Yeah, well, dude, it's so I mean we talked about it in my I did an interview with him that I dropped the day that my welcome edit went live on their YouTube channel. And I joked with him after the fact or in a different thing we did. I was like, I think this might be the first time that a writer has put out an interview with their sponsor with like but I mean like that's the level I like want to be at with things to where like we're equals. We're not it's not like he's hiring me, like we're working together, and that's the level I want to be at with anyone that I'm working with, and that's the level I feel like I am at with everybody. But he literally just messaged me. I mean I got a request. It wasn't even that it just popped up in my messages. Request from Stacked BMX Shop, and it was I'll just read it. I feel like he'd be okay with that because I'm not gonna read anything crazy. But he literally just oh wait, it might be his personal.
That's
Yeah,
hilarious, though.
literally it started with Brant, good afternoon. I dig what you were doing and I think I could assist you. And then he said some more things. And then that night we got on a phone call and just had a 3-hour phone call talking about all these different things. And at the end of it, it was like, all right, let's do this.
Dude, I love it. That's really sick, honestly. I really, really enjoy that. And I think it's something that like I really love to see shops that get involved in the way of like sponsoring people, right? Like even just the local shop around here, Harvester BMX, he sponsors this podcast. The
Yeah.
guy literally takes money from sales and gives it to me
Yeah.
because he loves what I'm doing. And that's like crazy to think about, right? Like there's a
It's
kid
awesome.
like, you know, half an hour from here that shreds, 16-year-old kid, doesn't have a job, can't really afford new parts. This guy gives him an unreal deal on new parts to ride for the shop. And it's something that like just those little tiny things, those little tiny stepping stones, you'd be so surprised how many big name pros rode for, you know, the local shop beforehand, a good majority of them. And
Dan
yeah.
Collar is one that comes to mind for I think it's Downtown BMX in North Carolina. But yeah, and in all of this, like Stacked is a mail order and a local bike shop too. And I mean, I ride for another local bike shop here in Ohio, Brimstone Bicycles, and I made sure I said something about that on our phone call. And he's like, "Yeah, I think that the way that it could work is that, like, you promote it as, well, if you're local, obviously you go buy from Brimstone, but there's also this other audience online that can't just come and buy from Brimstone, so you promote it as they order from us." And it was like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I want to also point people at that interview, because when I asked Larry why me, it got real. He got very real in his thing. He started it by saying, like, "Dude, I used to hate on you." Like,
Whoa.
that's how it started when I asked him why. And then it got to, and he went through the whole thing. And it's just, I think it's an important thing for people to hear, because even the interview itself, because the whole time it comes back to, he's just trying to make himself a better person. And through that, he's trying to give people opportunities and do good things for BMX. And I wanted to make sure that I said that in this opportunity to say that. But local bike shop sponsors, I mean, even on S&M's website, when you go to their sponsor whatever thing, it says, like, go to your local bike shop, and if you've got what it takes, maybe they'll hit us up, or whatever that is.
Yeah, yeah, dude, it's very true. I think the local shop, you know, there's so many of them out there that are really trying and they put in a lot of effort, and it's very important, even if they're not a mail order, right? Like, it's something that you know, with I think we kind of all saw it a few years ago when Dance Comp was, you know, all the rage. It was huge. It took over so much, and we
Mm-hmm.
do see it with Source even now, right? Source is massive. And it does take away from these local shops a little bit. And it's unfortunate. And I'm not saying this to be against Source or anything. First of all, I love Source. I think that the contest that they hold every year at the Battle of Hastings is ridiculous. You know,
Yeah.
that is the best, it's one of the best contests ever. But at the same time, I don't think that it's fair for them to be competing against the whole world of shops at like such a competitive rate, right? Because it takes people like Larry, like you were saying, and it makes them compete against people who maybe can't. And like, I'm not saying that he can't. I'm just saying that like certain shops are gonna have a hard time with that, you know. So the local shop is very important. It keeps your
Yeah.
scene
And
rolling,
I
literally.
think it also comes back to how much that shop cares about BMX, because if they
Absolutely.
care about it enough, then they're helping out the scene enough that people want to help, like, support them at the same time. So, like, it's a give and take on both sides of things. And there's certain topics with the, like, Dan's comp and the way that they used to do things that kind of, yeah, it's stuff I don't even care to get into in this interview. But there's there's a give and take there on both sides, just because there are a lot of people who don't even have local shops.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. That's a really good point, right? Like just the fact that, you know, some people don't have it, it's difficult. Mail order has definitely changed the game a lot, and for shops who maybe are late to adapt to that, it's a little rough. It seems like it's almost a must nowadays. You got to have a mail order store if you're running a BMX shop.
Yeah, yeah, which, yeah, I, it's just cool that Larry is and Stacked are like, yeah, stay with those guys. They help you out, and it can all work because it's all got to exist. Like
Yeah.
without the local bike shop, it's nothing.
Definitely, man. Yeah, it's awesome to see that they're like so cool with you. But another sponsor that you have is actually very popular in bike shops, and that would be Park Tool Blue. So let's talk about Park Tool. How did you get the best sponsor in the game that makes the best tools? Because it's got to be related to YouTube, just in my mind. Because,
It
dude,
was related to YouTube. At the point when I got hooked up with Park Tool, I had a bunch of tutorial videos out for working on your bike and stuff, and my channel was literally only at like 1 or 2 thousand subscribers. And I recognized that I'm using tools in all of my videos. Like maybe they would want me using Park Tools. So I got an email back from Janet, who doesn't work there anymore, but she's awesome. And literally we just went back and forth a little bit, and not even a week later, there was like a crazy amount of money in tools showing up on my doorstep.
whoa.
Because we're going to work together. And we've been awesome ever since then. Like when I did that frame raffle back, whenever I did that, I talked to Truman, who's in the videos. He's my guy that I talk to now. And they put up all of the Park Tool raffle stuff that I raffled off to help out with my medical bills. Literally, they put up all of it and shipped all of it.
That's
so
wild,
I could do
man.
that raffle. So like they are amazing. They do so much good stuff for so many people. Every single year they do like, I think it's like this crazy grant thing with a big amount of money. And they have all these organizations and people that they help out every single year. And it's just, they do so much good stuff. And I feel so like just grateful, and I'm never going to take it for granted that they want to help out someone like me, and that they started that at such a small area, like 1 or 2 thousand subscribers. I could have quit the week after I got the tools, and it would have never like it could have easily went that way. Like it could have never paid off for them, but I don't know. Janet saw something in me and put a little support behind me, and here we are now. And I feel like it's just going to keep going.
Dude, absolutely. It's wild to see that it's been that long, right? You guys have literally been working together since some of the earliest stages of your BMX career, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's like 2 areas. I'm trying to find it right now. My first video, yeah, March 31st, 2019. So it's just about 2 years. Or wait, no, that's not it. Sorry, that was definitely not it. That was before 2019. The first one I think was, yeah, March 21st, 2018. So 3 years now. That's crazy.
Dude, that is crazy to think about. That's wild, man.
I definitely really appreciate that, and everyone else who helps me out. Just the shout outs to Park Tool, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And to jump on the topic of another brand that helps you out, obviously we mentioned him earlier, Alienation. And
Yeah.
I just kind of wanted to know, how long have you been with them? And then there's a specific thing I really want to ask about. But yeah, how long have you been riding with them?
I'm gonna look. They did that. Do you remember they did the Flow for a Year
Yeah, I think
contest?
so.
So they did that Flow for a Year contest. Holy crap. That can't be the one that I did. 2012?
That's wild.
That can't be how early it was. It must have been. Yeah. Alienation did the Flow for a Year contest, where you submit riding photos, edits, as well as some information, whatever. And then they picked 10 people to flow for a year. And they did this multiple times. And I was one of the 10 people for one of the years that they did that. And then after that year, Rob Morgan was the team manager at the time. He sent me an email and was letting me know, like, I'm sticking around. And I've been on there. Jeez, I can't believe it was that long. Actually, I can look up my Welcome to Alienation video.
Ooh, there we go.
Because that would, March 3rd, 2015 is when I was like officially welcomed to the team with like the video. And that was after the Flow for a Year thing. That is crazy.
Dude, that is insane.
So it's been 6 years and things are better than ever with them. Like through that time, I was making edits and all of these things. And what you've got pulled up on the screen right now, they used my picture for the ad or for their poster in Interbike, which is why I went to Interbike so I could see it. And now working with them on this hub and working with them on some other stuff and having input on things, it's cool.
So the reason I have this photo pulled up is because I have always been blown away by this, and I've always had a very hard time understanding what is happening here. I can't tell if you're going up the vert wall and then doing like a tuck no hander grab onto the rafter and then drop in, or if you like shimmied yourself over and then drop in. So what's the deal, man? And is there footage of this by chance?
Yeah,
also,
the clip is in my video called Pretty Fly for a Bike Guy.
All right, I'm going to pull it up in a second here, but I wanted to know, this is Rays Mountain Bike Park, is it not?
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, I went up the quarter to the left of the vert wall, tuck no hander, grabbed the rafters, and then spun 180 and then let go and grabbed the bars to drop back.
Oh my
down.
God, I got to pull that up. Give me a second here. How did you come up with this trick, and what was the inspiration behind it?
I think I just wanted to do something with that rafter, and that was what I figured out I could do. I think I was trying to go to fakie. Like I tried to go up, grab it, and drop to fakie, and it just didn't work. So I was like, the next logical step is the 180. And the 180, I mean, it took a little while, but it worked.
That's wild, dude. I'm going to pull it up right here.
Yeah, it was definitely one of the more like wild looking ones anyways.
That photo is just so badass. Who shot that photo? Because
my
it looks
girlfriend,
sick.
Victoria.
Oh, really? That's
yeah,
dope.
she's shot and filmed most of my stuff throughout the years. Like literally most of it.
Dude, we had my girlfriend Taylor film my like, you know, office tour video of the goat cave. And it's no offense to her. I love you, Tay, if you're watching this. But dude, like so shaky with the camera the whole time. She's gonna get better. It just takes time. I know how it is, but
yeah, literally I claim that Victoria is the best girlfriend filmer in all of BMX. Period.
Probably
she
is.
Literally the odd couple contest that Rays would do, where you'd have a mountain bike rider. It's right before or after that.
Sick.
The odd couple contest that Rays would do, where you'd have a BMX rider, a dirt jumper, mountain bike rider. There it is.
There we go. All right, I'm gonna pull this back a little bit.
But that contest, you'd have a filmer, and she was our filmer for that contest, and we got 4th.
Wow, that's wild, dude.
Yeah, it was a really cool thing, and she's filmed a lot of clips for me. She knows what to do. She knows her stuff. She knows how to film. She knows the whole, you start down here, you move up here, you move back down there, all of it.
That's sick, man. Anyways, let's pull up this clip here that we were talking about a second ago.
Should
Alrighty.
be the next or
yeah, I think it is.
After the Foof or after the Abubaca.
I'm like, my computer is having a real hard time. Here we go. Oh, dude, that is sick. I can't believe you pulled that. That's gnarly.
I want to do it. There should have been 2 angles on that. Must not have made it in the video. I want to do it with a 360.
Oh, that would be sick. Like to fakie,
like end up fakie. Yeah.
That is so dope, dude.
It was tough, but yeah, Next question.
Yeah, sorry, man.
No,
Here
you're
we go.
good. I know there's a lot of them, and I said we're gonna do them all.
Yeah, fair enough, eh? So we got four more from me, then fan questions, and then my last question here. So
Sick.
yeah, for the for these ones here, I really wanted to know how long have you known Karl from NoWear BMX? Obviously, Karl is played a big role for you. The dude is just so rad, and I think he's the perfect example of like a true BMX rider.
Oh, for sure. Karl, I found Karl's Facebook page for his clothing company, and I messaged him just saying like, "Oh man, this is awesome," whatever. And then he reached out to me again after that and was just like interested in hooking me up and stuff. And so my welcome edit for Nowhere came out in January of 2014, and so I guess I would say late 2013 is when I've how long I've known him. 8 years.
Dude, that is wild. Yeah, I love what he's doing with Nowhere and everything that's been going on there, man. It's really sick. Like the park itself looks incredible, but I love that they're trying to basically do it as a non-for-profit, free indoor park essentially.
Yeah, and when I first connected with him, he was just building the ramps that were inside the old pole barn that he had at his place, and like the outdoor ramp was like not even as big as it is now, and he had some dirt jumps there. And to see where he's taken it now and like the level that he's done things, and to talk to people out there and hear the impact that he has had is really cool. And I think I'm even just as much stoked on the fact that it seems that BMX has finally accepted Nowhere and everything, because when you see a clip of his get posted or a bike or whatever, it's not the, oh my God, that's the ugliest thing ever anymore. The negative comments have seemed to filter themselves out because he has withstood the test of time in things, in that it's clear that he wasn't just trying to raise this money so that he could put it in his pocket and walk away and not do anything. He's not running this company to try and profit off of it. He's basically essentially what I did with YouTube through all of people talking crap, is that you go through the fire to come out on the other side of it. And I feel like both of us have at this point. And like, even though I don't like officially ride for Nowhere anymore, because I wanted, like, I felt like I was at a point where like I couldn't just go out there, and I wasn't involved with the stuff that he was doing there. And I recognized, well, maybe we could just call ourselves friends, and you can give the opportunity you're giving me to somebody who can actually be there. And so like I feel like we're even closer than we ever have been before. And yeah, he flew me out there in December, whenever that was, to make some videos. January maybe. We've rode for a weekend and got 2 weeks worth of videos out of it, and I got to hang out with him, and it was just a good time.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, it seems like that is like honestly the true BMX feeling, right? As much as people are gonna hate on, the frames and the look of the certain products and whatnot, nothing is more true freestyle than that, you know?
Just literally just, it's a physical embodiment of being yourself.
Absolutely.
And I think that especially with everything with Corey Walsh right now, being yourself is what's going to get promoted the most in BMX, because I feel like people are finally waking up to the fact that like that's what's important in life and in everything, is just being yourself.
Definitely, dude. Yeah, it's very important. It blows me away that, out of all of BMX, we've only had two big name pro riders come out as gay. And it's something that like, there's tons of people that struggle with this, not just in BMX, but in other perspectives as well. And it shouldn't, and I know that this is kind of a weird talking point, but I feel like it shouldn't matter to people what these people do outside of this, but it also plays a big role in this person's personality. And within BMX and skateboarding and everything, we kind of adapt to this, right? Like Corey puts all of his personality into his frames and all of that stuff. And it's the same thing with Matt, you know, like these guys are so important and so legendary. And like sitting down with Matt explaining, like him explaining to me kind of what he went through as someone who kind of had to hide it for a long time, like being a big name pro until he was basically no longer in the spotlight as often, right? Like everybody loves Matt, but he was saying that, like, you know, if only you knew, right? Like there was a lot
Yeah.
of people on his team that, you know, he would constantly think, you know, if only you knew, like things would be different if you knew, you know? And that's
Yeah.
not something that anybody should ever have to battle. I think
Yeah. And that
truly
sucks.
it's ridiculous that that's kind of where it is. And I think we should all be able to accept each other for everything. And like I was saying earlier, right? We praise each other on being the kind of people that say, oh, you know, we don't care about your status or anything like that. And I think that this is a perfect example of that. We do that. You know, we do judge and we
Right.
shouldn't do that.
And as much as I talked about this in a news video, and I talked about it for like 10 minutes at that. So I don't want to go so in depth on it, but after I made that video is where I saw how important it is to talk about this, because what I saw in the comments was either good for him, I support you, or like he's an amazing rider, that's great, or I needed to hear this. This is inspirational for so many people, whatever. And then the third is the one that I think that matters the most and why this is important is people who are like, why should anybody care what this about this? I don't care. Whatever. Why does this matter? Why should you talk about it? And that is exactly why. Because you have no concept of what it's like to be in his shoes. And if you did, you wouldn't have the perspective that you do. And that is why it's important to talk about it.
Dude, and honestly, I'm guilty of being that third option. At one point, I literally was thinking, you know, why does this matter? And it was kind of when Brian Anderson came out years ago. I think it was 2016. I was at the point where I was like, why does it matter? Why do people care? But it's one of those things that it does matter because there's so many people that suffer with this and so many people that have to deal with, you know, not being able to be their true selves, essentially. And I think that with Corey doing this, it kind of gives a good refresher. And like it sounds weird, but think about it, right? Matt came out back in 2018 and we really haven't heard much, you know, from the community since then. So to see Corey kind of, you know, go up and basically let everybody in on something personal that isn't really anybody's business is pretty awesome. It's pretty sick to see. Good for him,
Yeah,
honestly.
and what it makes me feel like is that it's an example of that thing that you hear people say, that saying, I'm going to butcher it because I don't know it right off the top of my head, but they say, first they came for my cousin and I said nothing. Then they came for my neighbor and I said nothing. Then they came for my mom and I said nothing. Then they came for my sister, my brother. I said nothing. And then they came for me and there was no one left to say anything.
Yeah.
It's a perfect example of that. And I feel like that's where we could leave it. And I hope that it gets to a point. I feel like there's probably a lot of people who like feel no need to come out, like who are already like openly out there, whatever. And they're just living their life and posting things as like, you know, like it's not like they're hiding anything. But I hope that we can get to a place where that is what is the norm and people just start like, oh, you're just posting a picture just like anybody else would, and there's not a need for it anymore. I hope that we can get there.
Absolutely, man. I fully agree with you on that. Anyways, to move on from that, I wanted to talk a little bit about Ride UK coming back to print. Obviously, you know, for someone like myself, I'm a huge fan of print media, anything that you can hold in your hand. I feel like you're very similar. Where do you think it's going to go? Do you think that we're going to be able to see long term with this? And I'm basically speaking on like, you know, you kind of get the industry. I also am pretty involved. So,
I think anyone who learns how to adapt to what people want will be able to continue on with what they're doing. It seems like zines right now, smaller zines that people are making, are really doing well. And I don't know if that's because it's a person running them and that there's that personal connection, like I made this or these people helped make this and we're promoting it ourselves, that's making it successful. And it's all of the people who know that person and know the people who know that person that want to help support it. Or if it's something else in that there's nothing else physical going on and people just want to have something physical. But I think as long as there is a personal connection and people are willing to adapt, the people at Ride UK are willing to adapt to what people want and don't just, I don't know. I don't really know what I would say not to do. But
Yeah.
I feel like as long as they have a sense of what's actually going on around them and what they're doing, they can make it work. Because we live in a state where, not in a state, we live in an era where anyone can be successful at anything through the power of the internet. You could literally be selling ice. And I guarantee I type into Google right now, buy ice. And you can buy ice literally like on the internet right now.
That is so funny.
You can buy anything. Fans crashed Jenny's site, which Jenny's is a local ice cream place in Columbus that kind of blew up. Fans crashed Jenny's site in rush to buy Dolly Parton's ice cream flavor. Like,
dude,
literally,
wild.
You can be successful doing anything on the internet. So as long as they're willing to find a way, then I think it could work. And as long as people want it, I guess.
Hell yeah, man. Now moving back towards stuff more related to you, back in September, you had a crash at the trails and ended up in the hospital. Can you tell us just a little bit of what happened? Give us a kind of a brief rundown.
Well, you see, I don't remember.
Been there.
Yeah, that's the only time that's ever happened ever for me. I only remember up to just right before, and then one little moment after that night, and then the next morning is what I remember. But from what I'm told, it was my third run of the day, and I was hitting the smallest jump at the trails. It was a step up at the end of the line, and I just got stuck sideways and like whiplash slingshotted into the ground.
Oof.
From being stuck sideways or something, and got knocked out. And apparently, like, I wasn't breathing right away or something crazy. Like, I didn't realize it was that bad until just a few weeks ago. The guy who owns the trails was at the skate park, and he didn't bring a late X up back soon enough, and he ended up getting knocked out. And my girlfriend, she was literally like, while it was happening, was saying how much better it was than what happened to me. And he was like out for a few minutes and snoring. It was bad.
Yeah.
So it was a bad situation, but it was one of those times where, like, I know we all have it, where like you go a long time without anything serious happening and you're like, it's coming. I know it's coming.
Yeah, it's one of those things that within BMX, right? Like it's tough, but it's gonna happen at some point, right? If you ride for a certain amount of time, you're gonna have an injury of some sort.
Yep, and I'm just glad that it wasn't anything physical. Like, you hit your head, you never know what could happen.
Oh my God,
Scotty
dude,
hit his head hard enough to make it like really, really bad. And I feel lucky that I can move all my fingers and toes and arm and legs. And I don't know, people left comments since then, and I feel it myself. I feel like I've gotten better from it. Like, I got better at riding.
Hell yeah, dude. That's incredible. Something that you should do if you have time is check out my episode with Nick Ford. It's 81. This dude is a local UK rider, and
I know him. He's a creative guy too.
Yeah, Nick's incredible, man. He had a really bad crash and ended up actually like, pronounced dead and then came back essentially.
Jeez.
So we talked a lot about that. If you've got time at some point, check it out. It's really good.
Yeah, that's nuts. I see him posting about it a lot on Instagram or Facebook, one of the two.
Dude, Nick is so nice. That dude is like
He's promoted your podcast more than anyone, even you. He promotes it more than you do.
Absolutely, dude. I'm like, I always feel so bad because I'm like, the guy is just constantly posting about it, and I love it. It's so nice of him to do that. I really gotta send him. I gotta send him some merch real soon. I'm gonna send him a care package with a couple things because I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Is there anything else with the crash, or is there next question?
No, we're gonna move on to the fan questions if that's cool with you. So we got quite a few sent in, so we'll kind of speed
People
run
actually
these.
send in questions?
Absolutely, dude.
I didn't know. I didn't think that would happen.
Yeah, I think you got about 10 of them here, which is pretty good. Most top name pros get like 5 fan questions sent in, so you're doing good.
Sick.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, so Stacked BMX shop, when are you gonna come to Cali?
Listen, I was supposed to be there right now. How sad is that? I was literally supposed to be in California right freaking now. But because with my part-time job, I'm like the YouTube media guy at a farm tractor company.
Yeah.
And with that, we're trying to like organize film shoots in other places because there's certain things you just can't film in Ohio, especially like timing wise. Things happen in the South faster. And we were trying to go to California right now, and things just didn't work out. So I'm hoping it's got to happen in the next month or two.
Dude, yeah, that'd be sick. I'm excited to see what you get done in California.
We went to September before this past one.
Nice.
And it was awesome. It was just a really good time.
Hell yeah, dude. I'm excited for that. I kind of want to see you do 360 lawnmower one-hander on the peg into El Toro, like drop in into the set.
I actually had an idea for El Toro, but I was told that the gate was too tall for my idea.
Yeah, it might be. Who knows? I kind of wondered, I'm like, does the gate ever get unlocked? Obviously it needs to be. Is it stirring certain hours?
I wanted to use the gate.
Yeah, that's incredible.
I was going to do 180 pegs on the gate, like at the top.
Yep.
And then 270 foof over into like into the stairs. I was gonna do that, but then someone told me that the gate was like way too tall to get up on.
Dude, bring a little kicker with you. That's got to happen. Like something to bump jump onto. Dude, that is going to be the... Oh my God, that's the craziest clip in BMX. What do you mean it depends?
It depends. Like it might not work. The rail might be too skinny. It might not balance right. I mean, there's just a lot of ifs there.
Bro.
I just think it'd be sweet. Pump up my tires really heavy. Dude,
you gotta go and give it like at least go to El Toro and give it a look.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to. Just my mindset on stuff like that. I'm weird. Like I feel like I'm not scared of trying that trick at all, because for me, there's no bad, the worst case scenario, I'm jumping and landing on my feet on the stairs because I'm trying to land in the stairs like it's a transition.
Right. Oh man, I'm excited to see that if you are able to pull it off somehow. That'd be incredible.
It'd be cool.
Yeah. Another one comes in from a listener here. This one, if you want to skip, you're more than welcome to. Bike part that you hated and will never use again. Like, I don't know if you want to put a company on blast right now, but
well, I feel like they're not around anymore. Let me make sure.
Fair enough.
Okay. I found the name. Yeah, they're not around anymore.
All right.
Drive Industries.
Okay. Never heard of them.
There's a reason. They made the lightest, cheapest forks you could buy. And They had some other parts, but their forks weren't a one-piece steer tube. They're welded, and like, I don't know what that means. And the forks were literally 31 ounces. They were as light as you could get, and they were $90.
Yeah.
So of course, disaster. I'm like, those are so light and they're so cheap. So I bought them and I snapped them. But at the same time, I think snapping them also saved my face, because if my forks didn't give, I probably would have went to my face. But that's about it. I mean, I can't really think of the only other things that I can think of that were like not good were grips.
Yeah, grips always seem to be a weird one. For me, I was riding for a shop and they gave me a bunch of free grips, and one of them was a Chromeg grip. And dude, like literally a day after I put those things on, they had holes in them. I'm like, how?
I
How is this
got one.
possible?
Yeah, like the set of grips I'm riding now are got holes in them pretty quick, but I got one. I'm about to do it again on my new bike just because it was the only option, but folding tires in the rear and me do not get along. It doesn't
Really?
matter what the brand is or anything like that. It seems like after a month, or not a month, it's even before, like it's a week and I have a hole in it. Doesn't matter like I'll put a hole in it in a week.
Damn, dude, that's interesting. Does it come from a lot of your like lip tricks or anything, do you think?
Most of the time it was from like casing, because I like to jump the hips at my skate park really high as I possibly can. And I'll like, there have been a lot of times where I'll case the coping and it'll break like the bead in the tire and it'll have
Oh,
a
I
huge
see.
wobble in it, or it'll put a hole in it really quickly. There's a couple that lasted a little while, and like it's just one of those things, like for some reason folding tires in the rear and I don't get along.
Dude, that's wild. Yeah, I've been riding a set of foldings for 6 months now, and I'm really
Mm-hmm.
liking them. But I've definitely heard my fair share of stories about them. Anyways, moving on from that, Tyler has sent in, "What is it like being a genuinely likable person?"
Is that Tyler R?
Most likely. I only wrote down Tyler. Most
Oh,
likely
okay.
Tyler R.
I feel like it's easy to be genuinely likable just by being a reasonable human being. Like, just if you're not too crazy about things and you have an open mind, you don't cast anybody out just by their ideals. Like, just I think the easiest way to look at it is just take the concept of freestyle and apply it to your life and how you look at other people.
Hell yeah.
And it's pretty simple. Like, I just try to be a good person, I guess.
That's wicked, man.
It
Yeah.
feels good. To answer the question, it feels good.
Fuck yeah. So Jarrett Shex has wrote in, "Any tips on fly out bar spins?"
Bunny hop first, not fly out.
Dude, is
I
that
learned
the way
them.
to do it? Do you think so?
I don't know. I learned them bunny hop into the grass.
Fair
But
enough.
I guess my main tip for bar spins is just to, before you like get into it, learn that you're okay just letting go of the bike completely and opening your legs up so that no matter what, the bike is just landing between your legs and you're fine. Like, nothing is going to happen if you throw the bars wild and then just nothing basically, and then land on top of the box. Like, if that's like the worst case scenario for just the first attempts. And then you kind of figure out, oh, this isn't so bad.
Hell yeah, man. I'm gonna use that when I learn them this month. That's
There
that's
you
the
go.
goal.
That's the thing. And keep your weight over your bars if you're actually getting close. That helps a lot.
Definitely. So this next one comes in from Kyle, and this is a good question for you. Favorite slash best lip trick ever. His favorite is the 270 tooth by Mr. Dave Asado, Canadian rider, right there.
That is a good one.
It is.
Man, I gotta think. I always really thought it was sick. I think Mark Webb does them. Flare to ice picks are crazy. Or like the
Yeah.
flare, Harry Main did a flare to tap on a spine to down whip over the other side in one of the Harry Mania or whatever the hell those videos were called.
Oh my God, that's nuts.
Yeah, that stuff's crazy. I would, if someone would do it, I would love to see a flip to wall slap, like on a straight up and down wall.
Whoa.
I feel
That's
like it's totally
crazy.
possible. I
Yeah.
feel like it makes sense. Or like a flip to foof on a hitching post.
Yeah. I can't believe flip to foof hasn't happened on a
I
hitching
mean,
post.
it's totally possible that it has. I'm not as well read on BMX as I should be, but as far as like favorite lip trick ever done or of all time or anything like that, I mean, I don't know if I have one.
Dude, I gotta say, if any of you listeners out there are more nerdy than Brant and I in BMX, and you've seen a flip to flare, or sorry, a flip to foof on a hitching post, please send us the video. But
The three to foof that keeps going around on that back rail, I think it was Dave Frymouth that did it.
yeah,
That one that keeps going around, that being someone who does three to foofs and knowing like how gnarly of a trick that is, especially if you're trying to do it on a back rail, that is insane.
that's one that I really want to learn. That I'm just too much of a puss to learn. One of these days,
Three to
man.
foof?
Yeah,
It's not bad. It's not bad on a quarter. It's like it can get gnarly, but I try and break things down as simply as possible and like separate out different parts of the trick. So like for me, a three to foof starts with just a 360 that you almost
case
don't make
on.
it up onto the top of the
Yeah,
box on. And from there you're like, well, that's kind of easy to land tail dive on a 360 and almost not make it. Then from there you're slowing down enough to where you're like, okay, I can kind of get the concept of landing on the back tire. And then once you get that, it's a matter of like, okay, calm down. You just tell yourself to chill out and be casual, because that's what I have to do every single time. And you kind of just got to trust it and you land it.
dude, that's another one that I want to learn this year. That's on the list right there.
Maybe I'll make a how-to for three to foofs.
That'd be the most popular how-to of all time, dude. And I think it would help bring back some of the mid-school vibes in 2021.
There are people who are starting to do that, and it's sweet.
Hell yeah, man. One of my dream tricks, I don't know if you would ever even think about trying this, is downside hand plant on like vert walls.
I've thought about that, and I just don't think I could do it.
My buddy Jeff does them, and he's nuts, dude. I don't even understand how, like, to even do it. Like, the dude
Right.
also lifts like 450 every day, like
Oh, well, there
just
you go.
average, just like big strong man shit. But
That's
yeah,
how.
yeah, it's gnarly to think about, man. I can't even like wrap my head around it. I don't know if it's like a flare and then you just like catch yourself. I got Jim Selinsky's phone number. I should just call him up and be like, Jim, walk me through this,
Yeah.
But
You know what? I take it back on the favorite lip trick of all time. Big back rail fufanus in general.
nice. Hell
That's
yeah.
gotta be it.
Yeah, dude, I love it.
But I guess 360 to fufanu is the extension of that. So there we go.
Fuck yeah. This one comes in from Carter. He's asking, what inspired your riding style? We kind of went over that earlier, but yeah, if you just kind of want to reiterate that.
Just through the years of riding, being like feeding off of my friends and kind of becoming a mashup of everyone I rode with, and then moving to Columbus and riding with Hamilton and just seeing the way he looks at things and having that mold the way I look at things, then making lip lords and forcing ourselves to stick to one quarter pipe, and then having that mindset of looking at things differently and having like trying to figure it out. And then honestly, I think another part of it too is like being put in that category with people, like with having like when my edit just came out and having all of the BMX websites saying like, oh, like this is the creative guy from Ohio, or this guy's riding's one of a kind, and all of the nice things that they said, like situations like that. And when people put me into that group with like Tate and Eric and all those guys, it's like, I think that in itself inspires me to try to be creative too with things. Like there was definitely a point in time a few years ago where I was like trying to be creative with things. Like every time I rode, I was like, all right, how do I be creative today? Like, what can I do? And if you talk to Tate, like his whole world is trying to figure out like the next creative thing that he can do. I feel like I kind of tapped into that a little bit and like tried to figure some things out. And then it's kind of funny. And I don't know if I said this online or not yet, but when I did my podcast with Tate, after the fact, we talked for like an hour and I showed him my Welcome to Stacked video. And I was like, it's not really that creative, man. Like, I feel like it's just me riding. And then I played it and with that mindset, and I was like, wait a minute, I guess it is kind of creative. And I was like, whoa, okay, this is kind of cool. And then since then, I've like been more conscious and like that's I've like tried to be creative with things again. And like instead of like waiting on it to hit me like I did with a lot of the clips I'm filming with a camera, I'm like seeking it out again.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, it's wild to see just how like, you know, technical and creative your tricks are. Like it just blows
It
me
comes
away.
that part of it, and thank you for that. And part of that comes from the Hamilton thing where instead of being at a street spot and looking at how I can do things, I literally just morph that into, okay, how can I look at this setup at a skate park and do it and use it differently than anyone has ever used this thing before, and like put my spin on it, do my tricks, but in a way that no one has ever thought of before, which is a lot of what No Promises has in it, with like the in the coping front peg thingy that I did in there. And like I take a lot of inspiration from Eric and Tate and see things that they do, and then boom, like fireworks and light bulbs go off all over the place. There's one clip in No Promises that I'm like so proud of, where it came directly after Eric posted the clip of him where he's riding on his bars on the front, bar hop riding. Then his front tire bonks off of that wedge and he spins the bike around as he's spinning around, does like a tail whip, and then jumps
So
back onto it
wild.
into that wedge. And I saw that and I was like, oh my God, how can I use that? Like, I
Yeah.
have to figure something out. Go to the skate park. I'm using the little prefab skate park and I'm thinking, like, all right, where can I do this trick at here? Like, how can I make this work here? And then I figured it out on the hubba and ended up doing it to a feeble grind down the hubba.
That's so
So it was like,
wild. Oh my God.
I think that's a perfect example to explain it. It's just I'm trying to take what's in my head and figure out how to adapt it to what's available to me, and it ends up being something creative.
Dude, that's wild, dude. I love it. Moving on from that though, we have another listener who sent in this question here. Why the green helmet?
I've always had green helmets and green bikes, like, or not green bikes, but it all started with my first that fit bike. I ended up getting some lime green parts for it, demolition lime green parts, and that was my theme, lime green and black. And then I think my mom bought me a green bandana or a white bandana. No, I got a white bandana and started wearing it. And then we were at a boat show in Cleveland and saw people selling bandanas. And my mom saw the green one. She's like, oh, you could get a green bandana and wear that. And so I started wearing the green one. And somebody at the skate park, my buddy Zach, who's a skater, looked over at me one day. And I don't think it was before we like were buddies and stuff. He's like, hey, green bandana kid. And so it just stuck from there, calling myself that. And ever since then, just lime green has been my thing. And I don't know, green helmet. I feel like it's one of those sentimental things that you can't get away from.
Oh man, I love it. Yeah, there's footage of you riding with like a green bandana. So it's either bandana or like, helmet.
Now,
I
it's
love
always
it.
going to be the green helmet now, because after crashing in September, I'm never going to ride without a helmet on again.
I love it. That's awesome,
I
dude.
had a helmet on at the trails, but I'm just never going to chance it after that again.
That's awesome, man. I ride with one of two helmets. I either ride with my full face helmet or I ride with my like cult helmet that I was sent.
Oh,
The
yeah.
cult one is better just for like street riding because you can kind of see what you're doing more. But with
Yeah.
the full face, it's good for pretty much anything else,
Confidence.
Yeah, definitely.
Sweet.
Yeah, so we
What do we
got
got?
3 more here. This one comes in from Jason Taylor. He's asking
What's up, Jason? He's from Canada.
He is. Yeah, dude. I talk to him pretty frequently. He says, I hear you want to learn backflips. You think you'll ever go for flares?
this mother, he has heard me. No, he's doing this on purpose because he's heard me say that I never want to go upside down in my life.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I just have no
no intentions.
Yeah, like when you talk to Ricky and he's very open about like how he sees people doing certain things and he's like, oh, I want to do that. Like he sees pros riding. He's like, I want to do that. I want to whatever. I'm like, not like that at all. Like I don't see anyone do anything and think I don't see everybody doing things and think I want to do it all. Like there might be specific things here and there that I see and I'm like, oh, I really like that. I want to do something like that. But I am very in touch with what I want to do, what I don't want to do, and what I feel like I'm capable of. And I feel like that's like part of what has gotten me to where I'm at is just I feel like I'm very aware of my abilities. And I try to, if I'm going outside of them, I do it in a very calculated way. So like backflips and flares and all of that, I just have no interest.
Dude, that's wild. Yeah, flips are interesting, right? I've always felt that flips are something that like, you know, it's playing with fire, at least in my mind. I can do them. I've done them. I've done them to, you know, over resi. Here's the fun fact, though. I've never done a flyout flip. I've always done them into the landing ramp on the resi. But that's it, man. That's the only, like, I'm just so terrified of pulling so hard that you hit your head on the lip. So I just go literally as fast as possible and go as high as possible and spin as slow as possible because I don't ever want to be in that scenario.
Yeah. My buddy JT, he learned them when he was 15 and like we were in the same grade going through high school and stuff. So like he's at a different school. I'm at a school and like we were the BMX rider of the school. And he learned them and he said like it's the easiest hard trick that you'll ever do.
Definitely.
So like part of me kind of like secretly like one day maybe for like a YouTube thing like, oh, we hit 1 million subscribers, I'm gonna go do a backflip because I genuinely feel like I could just go and do it. I feel like I could go and do it in 5 minutes into a foam pit, then go to a resi and it would work. But I have no desire to. And maybe like one day if some milestone happens and I'm like, oh, whatever. Because I said the same thing about bar spins and tail whips.
Dude, what are you going to learn for 25K? Because you're almost there. You're at 24.9. I was going to have...
I skipped 20K doing anything because it happened so fast and we're already at 25.
Hell yeah.
I don't know. I think I might just foof the back rail at the park again because I haven't done it in a while.
I love it. That's awesome, dude. Dude, have you ever tried, I don't know if this is like doable by any means, but it would be insane to do either like bar to foof or foof to bar back in. I don't know if that's like too intricate.
Bar on wedges.
Nice. That's sick, dude. Yeah.
I don't think I would ever want to do it into or out of a quarter just because I'm not that confident in my bar spins. And I do them the wrong way. So when you do it off of a foof the wrong way, it feels like it like throws the bike funny.
Yeah. Yeah. We had Stephen Moxley on pretty recently and we talked about oh my God, dude. I was there in person in the crowd.
Jesus
it was incredible.
Christ, I can't imagine seeing
dude. Yeah, it was nuts, man. Insane. Anyways, continuing on here. Harvester Bikes, the local bike shop. You're the man, Harvester. Asks favorite punk band growing up.
Oh, dude, I never listened to punk.
Actually,
like actual punk.
Yeah.
I am still, even to this day, like I don't listen to music that much anymore. It's like I'm listening to a Joe Rogan podcast when I'm driving, or it's silent because driving anymore is like my only just quiet nothing time. It's like the only time where I just have to where I'm just like, oh, nothing.
Just relax. Yeah.
Yeah. But growing up, I just listened to metal like Under Oath and As I Lay Dying and Killswitch Engage and In Flames and Bullet for My Valentine, The Devil Wears Prada. Like I'm still stuck in that when I do listen to music.
I don't know why, but I always kind of pictured you as a pop punk kind of guy.
Which is like kind of, I mean, I listen to Pop Goes Punk or Punk Goes Pop or whatever that is. Like, I feel like punk is more of the like yelling at the microphone, like not like metal screaming. Like going, like the hell's the Henry Rollins band, Black Flag, like
Yep,
stuff
Black
like
Flag,
that.
stuff like that. Yeah, it depends, right? Like I'm a huge fan of like punk, pop punk, ska punk, anything like that. So
I guess the technical term for music nerds for what I like is post-hardcore,
nice. Yeah, that makes sense.
because that's Under Oath, and Under Oath like invented that. So like that's it, I guess. And I listen to Hollywood Undead and Eminem and stuff like that too. And I feel like with music, I just have an appreciation for something that's like good.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough, man. That's rad. I love it. The last fan question comes in from Scheduled. What injuries have you had, and what injuries, or what was it like to recover from?
I don't talk about injuries because I feel like it's bad luck.
Fair enough.
But the crash that I had with the concussion is the worst that I've had. And then when I was like 14 or 15, I I had a crash at the trails because my buddy, I'm gonna blame it fully on you, Ryan. I know you're not gonna listen to this. It's fine. He's like my best friend in life. We went to high school together, met each other in middle school, whatever. He rides bikes and dirt bikes. I got new bars and I wanted to ride them at the skate park before going to the trails with them because I wanted to get used to it. And I think he either made me go to the trails or we only went to the skate park for a minute, then went to the trails and I went to bail and I literally cliffhangered, like
Oh,
put my bars into my ankles and like splat in between there's tiny tabletops, but landed on my chest and like bruised a bunch of my ribs.
Jesus, that is
Yeah.
rough, dude.
That one was the worst. And just recovering from that was like, it sucked because with your ribs, like anything you do hurts.
Yeah.
So it was to the point like when I went back to school the next day or whenever, I was literally taking like an inch step at a time and just late to every single class
Oh my
because of it.
God.
Yeah, that one sucked. But like,
Dude, no
yeah, I don't
thanks.
like to talk about it other than that just because I feel like it's bad luck.
Yeah, yeah, not fun, eh? Anyways, I got one last question for you, and then we'll wrap it up at that. So, my last question for you, Brant, I just wanted to know, what is freestyle to you, and why is it so important
To me, or a definition?
to you?
To me, it's exactly what I want to do at any given point, exactly how I want to do it, where I want to do it, and for only the reason that I want to do it. And I've grown in my riding. I feel like I've always been that way, but I've gotten to my point in my riding where it's never a thought of anything. It's like if I think about, oh, I should do this way, it's not because, oh, that's the proper thing to do. It's because that's what I want to do. Like, I'm not like, oh, people are going to make fun of me if I do this way. I did Indian givers out of ice pick to fakies forever because I didn't care. And then I got a free coaster, and guess what? Now I don't do an Indian giver anymore because I want to. So to me, it's just exactly whatever I want, whenever I want. And it's like the whole beginning, like of Viva La Bam. He's Bam Margera. What's
Yeah.
he gonna do next? And he's just like, whatever the F I want, and then jumps off the building. And I'm like, that's what it is. Just whatever I want.
Dude, I
And
love it.
what was that second half?
Why is it so important to you? Could also be, what role has that played in your life outside of BMX?
I feel like BMX led me to find who I am way before a lot of people do. Like I found BMX and I was like, that's it. that's what I want to do. And I want to do that forever. And I want to do as much as I possibly can every waking second that I have available every single day. And that's why I still live in I dress the way I did in 2006. I have my hair the way I found it, that I liked it, because I feel like I just found who I am and I like it. And I like who I am with that. And freestyle is a part of that, because without it, I wouldn't have been who I am. And I feel like BMX has allowed me to be myself more than anything else that you could ever do in your life other than another action sport. Because I played basketball in 7th grade. I sucked at it, and I practiced, and I hardly practiced like with the team because I sucked. And then when it came to game time, I played hardly at all because I sucked. And there was literally a point in time where we were in a game and the coach goes, "You guys are playing like you don't practice." And I literally was like, "That's because we don't." And he pulled me aside. He's like, "What did you mean by like?" He didn't get mad or anything. He just asked me what I meant by that. And I was like, "I literally don't practice. Like, you don't practice me. I just sit there." And that's why I'm like, I'm not against team sports, but I'm against like kids being pushed into team sports over something like BMX, or like they're more important than something like BMX. And I kind of just feel like I figured out that BMX and freestyle and being able to just do whatever I wanted to do at any given time. So it's like BMX is so much of an expression of exactly what's in my head. And it's so freestyle to me that when I hear people say that it's a way for them to express themselves, I can't even relate to it. And I love these conversations because I figured these things out in these moments. I've never realized why that is until right now. It's just that it is so ingrained in me that it's weird to hear someone else say that it's an expression for them, because it's so much of who I am that I don't even realize. And it's like, it's a seamless flow from a thought into, all right, this is what I'm doing.
Dude, I love it. Yeah, it's clearly a very big part in your life, and it's played a huge role in who you are. Honestly, had you never been able to pick up a bike back when you did, who knows where things would be, right? Like,
One, I would be fat. I can promise I would literally be fat, because I used to eat 2 fudge rounds, the big ones, every single morning for breakfast, some milk every morning. And sometimes I had more than that in a day. 2, I think I might have channeled the same energy into hunting and fishing and like the outdoors, because I've done that my entire life. But you're right. I have absolutely no idea where. And then honestly, it comes back to like, I put it all on my neighbor, Dustin Smith, because grew up hunting and fishing with him. Like, if it wasn't for that dude, I have no idea. Genuinely have no idea. And I gotta appreciate that. I'm glad that him and I are still friends, and that like we go fishing still all the time. And it's, yeah.
that's wicked, man. Brant, this has been incredible. We are nearing 4 1, 2, 3, 4 hours.
Is that the longest?
Not the longest. You got, if you can guess who is the longest, I will.
Ricky's
definitely...
was the longest. I know that, but I didn't know how long it was.
It's like just about 5 hours. It's long.
Jesus, well,
Yeah.
I can't beat that.
Yeah. Well, maybe one day. Who knows, eh?
Yeah. I do want to say, for anybody who's watching this and still or listening to this, thank you for 1. And for 2, it's through talking to people like you that I see the impact of the things that I'm doing. Because there's a really big difference, I feel, in my head between doing something because you like love it and you enjoy helping people and you would do it anyways, even if no one watched it or no one was helped by it, and then doing things intentionally for whatever comes of it. Because I feel like when you do things intentionally, you like see the result and you're doing it for that result over and over. So like there's a lot of times where I just don't, I do it anyway, so I don't realize how much it actually can do, the things that I'm doing. And it makes me appreciate the fact that what I'm doing is helping people. And thank you for that in part, because I'm just doing it, man. Like I just love what I'm doing and I would do it no matter what. So to be able to help people and to be able to do all of these things that actually make an impact, whatever that might be, I just appreciate it and I never want to stop doing it. And I literally only just want to take it to the next level.
That's wicked, man. I love it. It's very easy to see that like this is such an important part of your life, is literally, you know, doing YouTube and just being the prominent figure within BMX that you are, and being able to do everything that you have done within BMX, obviously, you know, and I love
Yeah,
it.
I feel like I went from a role of like, I made videos that got a lot of traction. Most of the Lip Lords videos got 10,000 or more views in their time, which is a lot for a BMX video. And I went from like that guy from Lip Lords, which people recognized me at Rays, and like Greg Henry, you know Greg
Oh
Henry, he's an
yeah.
amazing dude. He came up to me at Rays one day when he was there, and he's like, "Are you that guy from Lip Lords?" And I didn't even know who he was at the time. And then come to find out, like he's like the working man of BMX. That's how he's like, his image has been put out there, and how well respected he is. And to like see that someone like that recognized me when I didn't even know who they were, like it was really cool to see. And I was in that position of like the rider that was like making things happen for themselves. And like as a rider now, I've recognized that I am kind of a connection between the average dude who rides and the industry. I feel like I'm like the middleman between the two of them. That's like, hey, what are you doing over here in the industry? Like, what are the people in the industry doing? And I tell them over there. Then the regular guy's like, hey, what's going on in the industry? And I'm like, hey, industry guys, what's going on? And then I translate the message over there. And I guess when I was making those videos, Lip Lords and just edits, which I still do, like that's a big part of what I like to do and everything. But like when I was only doing that, I guess I didn't really like know my place in BMX as a whole. I guess maybe I didn't have one because I was just another guy who was making edits. And I feel like through YouTube, I've found a place in BMX and people are accepting me in that place. It's almost that people put me there more than I put myself there through like the effect that the videos have had. So I appreciate it even more. And before you kick me off, I should shout out my sponsors.
Absolutely. That was the next thing I was going to say here is, you know, if you got anybody you want to shout out, anything you want to plug, anybody you want to say thanks to, you know?
First of all, I've realized even more that I should thank my parents even more in all of this, because they, at the drop of a hat, bought me my first complete BMX bike. No questions asked. And second, all of the people who've supported me through the years and held a camera when I asked them to, and I've showed how to film something and they did it for me, because there are way more than I could ever count. And those are the people that have made these videos that I originally made possible. Then all of the companies and people behind those companies that have supported me. I mean, it started with Alienation, I think. It's been so long. And then Alienation and Zach Taylor and Rob Morgan there. Then Karl at NoWear and his whole family and all of those people. Janet and Truman, the chief at Park Tool, the guy who runs the show. And all of those people are so awesome. And then there's a shoe company that I'm riding for as an ambassador, Ride Everyday Team, Ride Concepts. Those people are cool too, and that they've asked for some input here and there. They put shoes on my feet, and they're genuinely cool people too. And It's a rider-owned company. Brimstone Bicycles, local bike shop. They wanted to help me out. They saw what I was doing in the community and just wanted to support that and help me out with my bike. And through that, I got connected with the people at Sunday in Full Factory. And like, I feel like I'm in such a weird position that I'm like thanking all of these different people at different companies that are also competing with each other because they're like united in what I'm doing. And it's almost weird to think about, but like Phil at Full Factory and everyone at Full Factory, literally, I feel like even though I don't ride for Sunday or Odyssey or Full Factory, I feel like I'm a part of all of those guys. Like they literally have a nickname for me. And when you see the unboxing of my new frame for my new bike, it's hilarious because they write all over the box. And it's
That's
like a
incredible.
thing. Like I opened this box up and dude, you're gonna laugh if you watch the video, but I didn't even know it was there. And I opened it and then I look over and the camera had already seen something that was so funny. So like I just gotta thank those people too. Then Tal at Free Night, like I don't ride for Free Night, but that dude gave me a huge opportunity. I helped them out. Grant Smith at BSD, he gave me that opportunity. I ride for a competing company to them, but Alienation didn't mind that I was making these videos about this BSD hub that I was given from BSD. And then like the people at Cinema and Kink and Blackout, like the dude sent me a stem because I was defending their stems and talking about them in a video. And he also sent me brake springs for my Kink brakes and like wanted to, like, he's wants to send me some cables and just like the support that I get from BMX makes me realize that I have made it further than I've ever dreamed I could. I just wanted, in the beginning of it all, when I started to gain some traction in videos, I just wanted to be the guy who can make it and show people that you can get somewhere being yourself and without doing what everyone else is doing and moving to where everyone else has moved. And I guess I'm realizing right now that I did that. It's fucking crazy, dude.
That's incredible, man. That's so sick. Honestly,
I should thank my girlfriend too. She's made most of it possible by filming it.
Yeah, definitely.
She even
man.
films my videos now. Like one day when YouTube gets there, I'm going to pay her and she's just going to film my videos.
Fuck yeah, dude. That's incredible. That's where it's at, right? Like that'd be sick. Honestly, dude, good for you. I'm really stoked that you have played such a huge role in BMX, and I think you're the perfect person for it, you know? Like like what Tyler was saying, you're a genuinely likable person. Like
I appreciate
everything
that.
And it's not just that, but the dedication and everything that you put into your videos is it's quite a lot, man, and good on you. You know, there's no one else in BMX doing daily videos on YouTube. Like Scotty was doing 5 days a week and now he's down to I think 3 or 4. But dude, there's nobody doing it like you, and so many other like aspects of it. It's not just riding. And I really appreciate that about your content.
Man, it's like crazy to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, no
Thank
problem.
you for having me on here. And I also want to thank every single person who's listening to this that watches my YouTube on a regular basis. Because I know that there's people like 20 Grip and Sean Stefferson and what's his face from Michigan, Russell, and just Paul Lurch or whatever his name is from England. Like there are so many people that I know that are going to listen to this to the end. And I have to appreciate every single one of them because they are also the ones contributing to helping make me be able to do this and live my dreams. I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there and I'm not going to stop till I get there. It's that simple. And it's through help from people like you and everybody who's watching. And when I say people like you, I mean you.
Aw, well, thank you. I appreciate it. That's awesome, man.
Hell
Dude.
yeah.
Alrighty. Well, I think we're going to end it off there if that's cool with you. This has been... Sorry, continue if you need to...
I wasn't going to say anything, but if you're not already, like, obviously you're 4 hours deep in this, so you better get involved with what this guy's doing because he let me talk to you for 4 hours.
There you go. So, anyways, Yeah, thank you guys for checking out the podcast today. Brant, this has been incredible. Thank you so much. I honestly really appreciate the opportunity to sit down with you and just learn so much. Honestly, this has been a lot of fun, and it's been one of the better episodes in my mind in the last little while. So thank you.
Yeah, man, it feels really good to kind of come to some of the realizations that I have during this, because the way I want to end this is like, in all honesty, I don't think about this stuff. Like, I don't think about, I'm not like, I'm setting out to make an impact and like try and help people and things, but I'm not thinking about that impact. And I'm not thinking about the extent of things while I'm doing it, just because I enjoy doing it. So, like, slowing down and having this conversation has really, like, I don't know, like, I feel emotion. I'm not an emotional dude, but like, I feel it right now, and I just appreciate it.
Hell yeah, man. Anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.